Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Uncovering Anomalies podcast. This is episode
Yeah.
81. We're recording on July 21st, 2024.
That's right.
That is, I have a need to know Adam.
Hey, everybody.
And I am Country Western Topher. It's nice to meet you all.
You got the accent down.
I'm working on it.
Country Western Topher.
It's only one of two accents I can kind of do.
There really is that thing about when you go to these towns in the West or even small towns in the US, and the stereotype of how everyone says hi to you, even if you have never stepped foot in that town and you're like walking down Main Street, people just say hi to
y'all. How you doing today?
And these big cities, everyone's ignoring each other. Man, they ignore people getting beat up, raped, whatever. That would never happen in those towns.
Nah, in those big cities, they lack that country, nice to your neighbor sort of charm.
And that is nice, isn't it?
You know, where we live, there's these country western barns, and they all kind of talk like this, and it gets real, phony and annoying.
Yeah, and in the state we live in, there is a place that has Bakersfield. Bakersfield, if you go there, it's cowboys. They have a southern accent like that.
It's cowboys and a whole lot of meth. Watch your step. You'll either step in cow shit or you'll step in meth shit.
So why do you think meth is a feature?
Meth was a huge problem up in Montana as well, and I think it is in the greater northwest of this great country and the southwest. Yeah. I just think when unfortunately there's a lack of things to do, people tend to drink and do drugs more than
they're bored.
Yeah, I mean, that was other huge issue that was in Montana was drinking and driving. And part of it's the culture. A lot of people don't know this. It wasn't until somewhat recently, I think it was the 90s, Montana did not have an open container law.
Even the 90s was allowed, by the way.
Or a speed limit for that matter.
And speed limit, no speed limit happened, also late 90s.
So, I mean, I think that culture just kind of like stuck, where it's so just you go from it's completely legal and you're allowed to do it. That just kind of gets stuck and ingrained in the culture, and it doesn't go away for a couple generations.
I remember you can have a loaded shotgun.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You still could do that until, like, I remember there was a huge, not scandal, but like when I was in high school, people used to drive to school with their guns in their back windows all the time. It's right. It's gun rack. It was very common. And then the school had to crack down on that because, because, you don't want your kids showing off guns at school that openly, even though it's legal, it's still not, good.
Right. And so what's the argument? Is that, you're driving around, all of a sudden you see an elk near the road, and you quickly stop, get your shotgun and shoot it? I mean, I don't understand.
Yeah, could be. I mean, so guns are not necessarily fragile, but you don't want to be throwing them around and stuff, right?
Right.
And so you can't really sit it on especially if you're driving a truck, you're not going to throw it in the truck bed because it'll bounce around and get scraped up and stuff like that. Yeah. I don't think you want it leaning up in the passenger seat because if it falls over and goes off or something, that's obviously a huge issue. You don't want it on the seat next to you for the same issue, so you put it in the gun rack.
Oh, okay. Yeah, okay, that makes sense. But loaded?
I don't know if I don't know. I'm sure there have been people who keep their guns loaded. Obviously, that's not good gun safety. It should be unloaded, but who knows? I had this one buddy in high school named Trent. Really cool guy, super redneck guy. He had stories about where he'd be driving. It was the same kind of deal. He had his gun in the gun rack, and he would pull off to the side of the road because he saw a deer and just take a couple shots out the driver's window.
I love it.
Yeah.
So cool. Well, recently Montana has had a Democrat, right? Governor.
Yeah, it's going if not blue, it's definitely more purple. You definitely have the same like staunch conservatives who have lived there since Montana existed, but you do have a huge influx of people coming from places like Seattle or California. Yeah. I mean, so many people from California move up there and kind of change the demographic because it is a cheap place to raise a family and a good place to raise a family, especially
Definitely.
if you're the outdoorsy type.
It just sucks that they leave somewhere because of usually politics, and then they bring their politics with them. It makes
Yeah,
no damn sense.
it's exactly what happened to Austin, Texas.
Yeah.
The like one of the bluest cities in the country and one of the reddest states in the country. And it's all you know, ex not
Tech
not ex
guys and
yeah, from California and stuff. Tech guys.
yeah,
There's a lot of tech guys.
right.
I know Elon Musk like just recently announced he's moving the SpaceX headquarters to
Yeah,
Texas.
right. And well, he moved Tesla. Well, wait, he moved the Tesla factories out of California, but now he
Yes.
wants to move everything, all the Tesla stuff also.
Yeah, and I think he's even did he move Twitter out there yet? Or he's
No,
planning on it?
it's still in San Francisco, I think.
Oof.
I'm sure he's planning on it. Well, I mean, that'd be a big move, right? They have a huge building,
Yeah.
but I think he did that announcement after they signed a bill that would make it illegal for teachers to tell parents of kids that they're being transitioned in school.
Yeah, I really don't understand that. They say they're doing it under the guise of, oh, these kids are too scared to come out to their parents. But why does the school get to decide if your kid's transgender or not, or encourage that? That's not something that should ever come up in school.
Ever,
I
ever.
understand kids talk amongst once they're and that's what kids do. Maybe I'm
Yeah,
gay. This person might be
right.
gay. I mean, that's just normal kid stuff.
Hmm.
But when you start involving the teachers and staff into it, that's where I'm just kind of like, why?
So they can worship the state. Don't worry, the state loves you. The state understands you. Your parents don't. You know,
Yeah,
it's all about the whole Marxist agenda of destroying the nuclear family.
yeah. It's a weird agenda to have. They keep complaining that we don't have enough. Our population isn't growing like it
Yeah,
should, and they also want to break up the family. Well, that's what keep bringing in the immigrants.
yeah,
The
true.
illegal immigrants. I want to specify. There's nothing wrong with immigration to this great
Of
country,
course
and
not.
there's a lot of good people here who have immigrated legally, and
Yep.
unfortunately, there's a lot of people who have come here illegally who are not so good.
Right, it's breaking the law, and if we're a country of laws, then you need to come here legally and lawfully. That's all it is. You need to respect the laws. We all have
Hmm.
our ancestors have. I mean, it's not like any of us are Native Americans or anything. So, yeah, I mean, oh, just on that point you mentioned about like decline in population and this whole trans agenda. We went to the Getty Museum, the Getty Villa. Have you
Hmm.
heard of it? It's a remake of a Roman villa. It's really cool, but they have artifacts in there, and a lot of these artifacts, like especially like the Mayan ones, like they focus so much on like like the penis and stuff. Completely opposite, and it's completely opposite to now because they knew if you wanted to build civilization, you need to take care of those things, and especially if you want to have kids and children and complete opposite to us. It's not a surprise that we have across the board in every single country there's a decline in the population.
Hmm.
It's sad.
It's really sad.
Yeah.
But it's sad. Man, is there a whole lot of other really fun, wacky stuff happening in this
Yes.
country and this world today?
Yes,
If you
there
consider politics in the United States fun and wacky, kind of like I do.
is.
It's sad, funny, but I still get a good kick out of it because it's so dumb.
Yeah, it totally is. And you need to have a sense of humor.
Have to. That's the only way to get by in this world. I learned that
So
a long time ago.
yeah, I learned it in that way. Yeah, what taught me that actually was military. When I went to military school, they said
Hmm.
you have to have a sense of humor, turn it on and off. Yes, you can be funny and stuff, but then you got to turn it off and then be serious. Um,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, there's times for levity and there's times where you have to button it up. I truly have struggled with getting serious about many things. I remember there's one time in high school, we it was basketball practice, and my coach, I kept making jokes, or I don't know what I was doing, and my coach stopped and he goes, "Do you take anything seriously?" And I go, "Screwing around, I take that pretty seriously." And I had
oh
to
god,
run, I think, for the rest of practice.
yeah, I'm sure you did.
Yeah, that's an example of times when you should start taking stuff seriously.
Right, exactly. There's a time for everything.
Yeah.
And it's a time for us to go through some anomalies.
That's right. Today we are covering, I think we talked about it last week, or
We did.
mentioned that we were going to cover it. We are talking
Yes.
about the Coronado Group Abduction, the Hotel del Coronado, which
Yeah. So that.
incidentally is not where the abduction took place.
Okay. So it did. Okay, but it is on the island of Coronado, right, in
Yes.
San Diego.
Yes, off the coast of San Diego.
All right. So as we're discussing a little bit ago, that there's not too much out there, at least not in written format. There's a lot of podcasts. The interview with the lady Yvonne
Yvonne,
Smith, yeah,
Yvonne Smith.
Yvonne Smith, and she wrote the book on this in 2014. She has a coast to coast one, but they have a good synopsis that we can read.
Yeah, let's do that.
All right, so in March of 1994, I can't believe I haven't heard of this. The Triad UFO Conference was held at Coronado Island off San Diego. And just for people to know, it's not really that off of San Diego. I mean, it's
You cross a bridge, right?
yeah, exactly. And among those in attendance were members of Smith's group. This is Yvonne Smith, CERO, which is Close Encounters Research Organization. After the conference, a number of the attendees compared notes and began to wonder if something strange had happened to them during their weekend at Coronado. Eventually, Smith pieced together various types of physical evidence and testimony that indicated alien abductions.
Now,
Yeah.
really quick, and a fun fact about CERO, one of the co-founders was in fact Dr. Roger Lear.
That's nuts. Roger
And
Lee, I
he
heard like
and
John
he
Mack too.
he is Roger Lear is kind of a part of the story as well. I don't know if that's covered in what you had found.
Well, yes. I mean, yes. I think they talk about that here. But
Okay.
also, David Jacobs is another alien abduction researcher, and he's part of that group. So it's really strange, when you think about all these people who are focused on alien abductions, and then this
Yeah,
happens to them.
yeah, it's like if you and your friends, have a party for Bono, just as how much you appreciate Bono, and then Bono shows up.
Yes, yeah, exactly. And it's like they're putting on a show for these people in a way, if this really happens. So, as she performed hypnotic regressions on a number of the attendees' contactees over a period of years after the conference, details were revealed. A man named Mike saw an incredibly bright light and the next morning found blood on his pillow, which he learned later was coming from his ear. A doctor found puncture marks there. Another of the attendees, Alice, had a scoop mark in her shin, and Dr. Roger Lear removed an implant from her leg in the 1990s, which seemed to contain nanotechnology. Eventually, Smith learned that a number of people at the Coronado conference reported being taken to a huge craft and witnessed seeing each other there. Interestingly, President Bill Clinton happened to be on Coronado Island at the same time as the conference, along with his Secret Service agents.
Yeah, so that's probably why this story gained so much traction. It's because Bill Clinton was there at the time, not related to the UFO convention that we're at,
Right.
but he was in the same physical geographical location. Yeah, I mean it's pretty cool. And it seems like a message, from the aliens saying, "Look, we can do this right under your nose."
It's nuts. It is nuts, especially that it's a group of them too.
Mm-hmm.
Now it was terrifying, right? Do you know any some
Yes,
pointers or
I have some really good, not quotes, but stories from the book that Yvonne wrote. Um, yeah, so they were talking about Mike earlier in that paragraph, right?
yeah?
His name was Mike Evans,
Oh,
and he remembered waking up in the middle of the night with there was a bright light in his room,
mhm.
and he thought that it was a plane. This is before 9/11. You have to remember. He
Okay.
thought it was a plane flying by, and so he got up, closed the window, and the light was still there, and he was freaking out. And he went out to the hallway and yelled because he didn't know what to do. And the other people in the hotel, reported hearing him yell, but just didn't, they were all getting abducted at the same time. So they weren't,
Oh,
they didn't really pay any attention. They couldn't really do anything about it, but they heard him yelling out in the hallway. But that was all he remembered. And then when he was regressed by Yvonne, then the full story came out. I can talk a little bit about that now.
Yeah, go ahead.
So when he woke up the next morning with blood on his pillow, he and his wife, because he's a big UFO nerd, measured the blood and took all these pictures and stuff.
Okay.
And then one of the weird things about it is he had this weird thought in his head that he had cut his lip on the sink, which, if you think about that at face value, makes no sense. And they
Right.
think that was probably some alien imagery, put in his brain to account for the blood. But
Yeah.
in his regression, he remembered the light coming in, going out in the hall, coming back, and seeing, he said, maybe 4 different shadows in the light. And it was like a foggy light,
Yeah. Oops. You're on mute. um all right. So I guess if we can get back to here, and then Topher will come back when
Sorry
there we
about
go.
that. I don't, where did I get cut off there?
Just a few seconds ago. So you said foggy light.
Yeah, okay. So it was like foggy light, and he saw these 4 figures in the light. He said maybe it was 4, it could have been more. He's
Uh-huh.
lying in his bed, and the alien comes up to him. And it sounds like your stereotypical gray, big head, huge black almond eyes, long fingers. He said 4 fingers. And the one that approached him came up to his right side and had a long, thin device like a pencil, but on the end of it was some sort of cage with a ball in it. I
Huh.
think that's what it said. And it was just
Okay.
emitting a high pitched noise and was shoved into his ear.
Whoa.
But there was no pain. He could just hear the ringing in his ear from the whatever device it was. There's more to Mike's story, but that's
Did that make him like paralyzed or something?
I guess so. I mean, it sounded like he couldn't move
Yeah.
while this was happening.
Right. Oh, there we go again. Oh, there we go. Okay, you're
Yeah.
back.
Sorry about that.
No problem.
Anyway, that was the first of the major ones that's covered in Yvonne's book.
Nice, Mike Evans. That's funny. He's a pretty big guy in the evangelical movement. I'm sure it's not the same guy. All right, so this is Yvonne, and she's being interviewed here. I'm gonna put it on 1.5 speed, just so we can go through it much quicker. So this is her 2 months ago. She got interviewed. Should we start this, or is there anything more you want to talk about?
No, let's go ahead and start it.
Okay, and I'm sure we'll skip ahead too.
I'm fine, Richard. Thank you so much for having me.
My pleasure. We should also mention that you will be appearing on a very prestigious panel, Women of Ufology. That's happening at Contact in the Desert. And this particular panel will be on Friday, May 31st, 8:30 in the morning to 10:05 a.m. That's Pacific Coast time. And people can go to contactinthedesert.com for more information. The link is in the episode notes. All right, so let's dive into the Coronado case.
There we go.
First of all, to your mind, is this particular incident getting the due, this mass abduction, getting the due, I guess, in ufology that it deserves? Does it get enough attention?
Gosh, I think it does need more attention because of everything that happened, everything that came through during the conscious memories of the participants or the experiencers, and then while they were in regression. This is why I do shows like yours, because I think people need to understand that multiple witness abductions happen all the time. And this happens to be about a dozen people. I'm hoping at some point to put a documentary together. And
wait, a dozen people? And she did say that she wants to do a podcast like his. So we could invite her on.
Yeah, actually, I have that written down here. I think 10 to 12 people were abducted that night. Supposedly.
Man, that is crazy, and that is pretty ballsy if you think about it.
Right. Well, and what's wild is there were so many different abduction scenarios that happened in this night. People saw grays. People saw bug-like, aliens.
Yeah.
I mean, there was so many weird things going on. I should mention. So even though it's called the Coronado Group Abduction, this took place at a hotel called the Village Inn.
Okay, but on the island, not the hotel. Yeah,
right.
Okay, let's continue.
And perhaps a feature film about this case to just really bring it out into the open, into the public arena.
It's been 30 years. This occurred in 1994, Coronado Island, just off of the coast there of, well, it's in San Diego, but it's.
Mm-hmm.
How did you first find out about it?
Well, I was there because I was invited to be an MC for a UFO conference. And at that time, the Triad organization was putting on all of these conferences throughout the United States. And as you mentioned, I lectured and traveled with my mentor, Bud Hopkins, Dr. David Jacobs, and the late Dr. John Mack during these Triad conferences. This one, because it was basically in my backyard.
I'm just going to stop there. I think I think that's crazy that both John Mack and Dr. David Jacobs were there, and they are the foremost authors on the subject. Like Dr. Jacobs was at what university? Wait, the one in Philadelphia. I forget the name now, but he also took many abduction cases and then came up with his own theories after that. John Mack is known from Harvard University. He's also the one that went to that African country.
Yes, I think it was South Africa, wasn't it?
South Africa, yeah. South Africa. Yeah, so it's nuts that those two are there, or at least involved with this group that goes to Coronado. So, it's nuts. It really this does seem like some kind of showing off, or let us do it live to you guys.
Yeah, I mean, the cynical person would say, "Oh, this is how you know it's fake," but just the crazy stories that these people, the things that supposedly happened to them is just, I don't know. It doesn't scream faked, performance art to me.
Right. Yeah. Okay, let's continue.
Asked me to be MC, and several of my serial support group members wanted to come down. They thought they'd love to meet other experiencers from other parts of the country. So they caravan down to the island. I was in a separate car from them, but they came down, and some of them stayed in the outlying hotels, and they wanted to attend the entire conference. So here we were in Coronado. I was busy with my schedule to keep everybody on time as an MC, and it was because I was so busy, and I wasn't concentrating on abductions at the time. I was doing a different job that weekend. Several of my serial members came up to me periodically during the day on the first day of the conference and would say, "I'm not feeling well. I don't know if I'm going to stay the whole day today." Or, they were feeling ill, as if they had the flu. There were flu-like symptoms. One person who was he and his wife were there. He paid for the whole conference ahead of time. He was very excited about going. And after that night, he stayed away from the conference as if he really couldn't face coming in and listening all about UFOs. And yet he really didn't realize he was doing that. He told his sister, "I'm going to go shopping." And we thought, oh my God, he paid hundreds of dollars to do this. It was that avoidance that happens often in abduction cases. So we went through the conference. As I mentioned before, I was very busy. And once the conference ended, we all arrived home, starting our daily lives. And I was.
Oh, so nothing was out of the ordinary then, right? Except for the fact that there were some people trying to avoid it, but no one remembered anything or discussed it. I mean, that's what she's making it sound like.
So several people had mentioned that there was that bright, again, foggy light in their room, but then they don't remember anything after that. But I don't think they really started talking to each other about, hey, what happened last night? Because remember, they're at a convention. They're all feeling like they've got the flu, like she said, flu-like symptoms. It's already, so you're already not 100% there. You probably are looking to go home at that point. But so I don't think they pieced it together for a while, but they later would come out and say, yeah, I do remember the light. I do remember hearing Mike yell in the hallway. So nothing was figured out at the convention.
Well, and in general, what do you feel? What are your feelings about hypnotic regressions?
I'm not sold on it. I understand, how weird the subconscious is. It's been proven that you can essentially get them to quote unquote remember things that never happened due to, I'm trying to remember the phenomena, but basically it's like the, don't think of a pink elephant. Don't think of a pink elephant, and the first thing you think of is a pink elephant. It's kind of like that with hypnotism. But another thing about Yvonne is, I don't know if she mentioned it or is going to, but she did a lot of work with PTSD people, which is how this all kind of started with her. Because these people were showing signs of PTSD about this conference, and she was like, well, let's get to the bottom of this. And then, this is how they started piecing things together.
What a crazy event.
Getting phone calls, and all of these experiencers were from my support group. So a couple of people wanted to have regressions because they felt something may have happened. They started talking to each other and they thought something may have happened. Very obviously, someone came away from, Mike came away from that night with blood on his face, blood on the sheets of the bed. And he kept thinking, I must have bumped my head or lip on the sink in the bathroom in the middle of the night. But yet, when they thought about it, the sink was very low.
You there? Can you hear me? I think we lost Adam. But yeah, it was just like I was saying. I mean, you there?
Do you see that? Okay, it's back.
Yeah, you froze. I couldn't hear you at all for the last couple minutes.
Wow. What about the screen? Was that going?
Nope, it was frozen.
Really?
They're on to us. But she was talking about Mike Evans' experience with the sink, and I was fist pumping because I was like, yeah, I said it before she did.
Exactly. Yeah. So she was saying that. I mean, I heard it, but I guess it wasn't on the screen. But yeah, she said that he supposedly hit it on the sink, even though the sink is really low because it's an old hotel.
Right. That's right? Exactly where it stopped.
Okay. All right. So let's continue. What the fuck?
The events, then they think, wait, it doesn't make any sense. So he was one of the first ones to ask for a regression, and I started regressing others. And it wasn't until well after the conference that I started putting the pieces together. And I couldn't believe what I was hearing. And people were, there was four, there was 6 couples in one of the historic hotels. And most of them didn't stay at the Del Coronado because, as you know, it's very expensive. And because I was working at the conference, my room was comped and so forth. So they were staying in other hotels. And this one hotel, they all stayed on the 3rd floor, and they all had memories of something happening. Someone heard a man screaming. One of the couples actually saw his wife being levitated from the bed. It was, Mike came away with blood on his pillow, and Alice came away with something implanted on her shin, on her left shin.
Excuse me, Yvonne, the person who witnessed the levitation, did they do that with their actual conscious memory, or was that recalled through hypnosis?
If I can, I'm trying to think, because it's been a long time since I read his transcript. I believe it was during hypnosis that he saw that. I believe it was during hypnosis, but other people, strangely enough, they have conscious memory of seeing their loved one or partner being levitated.
Yeah, really quick, if you want to pause. One thing that seemed to be pretty common throughout this event is the aliens would pick one person and force the other person to watch, which I don't know, which is freaky in and of itself. But I can't imagine if you're watching your wife getting levitated out of the bed or whatever, getting, injected with something. But that was pretty common amongst the people who were part of this event.
Man, that's like terrorism. Wow, that's scary. So, okay, so some people did have a conscious memory of this, and some didn't.
Well, I think they have memory of the stuff that came up right before it. I don't think anyone had
levitation.
Right. Well, no, I think she was just saying the levitation came in during regression.
Okay.
So they could remember, up until going to bed. Some of them remembered seeing the light, shadowy figures, yada yada yada, and then, but not the full experience until regression.
Man, I stayed at one place in Coronado, and I didn't know about this event, so thankfully.
Yeah.
All right, let's see what else.
People out there who are listening to this and not really aware of the details, it sounds unbelievable, but yet I've heard this hundreds of times in my 3 decades. So I started regressing everyone, and it was a lot of work because there are many, many people involved. They actually, during the course of their regressions, they actually saw each other on the craft. They described, the craft very similarly. It was a very large craft. One described it as about 3 stories. And I thought, oh my God, the beings knew we were going to be there in a conference, what a perfect time. And they were prepared. They brought a huge ship to do whatever they were going to do. So it wasn't until I published the book finally in 2013. I started writing it years before that, but I was so busy. My kids at the time were very young. I was still married, and so the time wasn't right. I couldn't concentrate on it. And then finally, I was able to write and publish it in 2013. We're going through a 2nd edition of it right now with my new publisher. So there's so many components to this that I'm trying to think through everything that happened.
And what did they? How did?
Yeah, and just so everyone knows, I mean, her book that was published in 2014 is called Coronado, the President, the Secret Service, and Alien Abductions. So she tries. I don't know if she's linking all of it. I mean, I know they were all there at the same time.
Yeah, we got to get our hands on this book.
Yeah, I definitely want to read it.
There's a really good. I don't know if she'll cover it. They covered it on last podcast and made it really funny. There's these two guys, Phil Baxter and Gary, that shared a room, who I guess were kind of friends, but then on the craft during regression, like they had some sort of falling out, and but apparently on the craft when Phil Baxter came to, he saw Gary getting tubes up both sides, if you know what I mean.
Oh my god!
And didn't do anything to help him, and so Gary took umbrage with that or something.
He's like, why didn't you help me? Why would you just watch?
Right. Even though, like, what the hell are you gonna do? Honestly,
Right.
if you're truthfully in that situation, there's not a whole lot you can do. But
right.
People are complicated.
Of course. It's funny.
Did they describe the entities aboard this craft?
All very, very typical. The ones that do the abducting, the ones that do the medical procedures, they were the grays, very thin, very spindly. Some are the short ones that bring people onto the craft, and then there's the taller ones that are on the craft. They also described the praying mantis, who is always there and always seems to be in charge. There was one of the
Wait, maybe it was too fast. Did she say? She said mantis, right? Like a mantis being that was in charge.
I thought that's what she said. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right. It was going too quick. So it is it is kind of typical again, right? Of like abductions. Okay.
members, John, who was his task was to bring people on and go around to the tables. It was a large room that everybody described, people on the tables, and he was told to calm everyone down. And it was amazing to me because when I started working with John, he was so traumatized, he couldn't even get through describing what happened to him since childhood. And yet here, during this abduction, this mass abduction, he was told, and he said he goes, I had to do it. I couldn't back out of it. And he knew, he said, I know what's going to happen to these people. And yet he was still, that was his job, is to go around and calm everybody down. Melinda, who was also a participant, same thing. It was she and John that were told that they need to calm everybody down. And that was amazing to me when they both came up with the same description, the same task. And let me see, was there, I'm just trying to think of everything that happened.
Sorry, I don't want to interrupt. Go ahead.
No, it's okay. I'm just trying to think back. During the at the Village Inn, that was the very old historic hotel near the Del Coronado. The 6 people were on the 3rd floor. Both Alice and Lacey described hearing a man screaming. Well, next door to them was Mike and his wife, and he was having an episode. He was being taken, and when they got together afterwards, they realized it was Mike that was screaming. And let's see, are there other? I'm trying to think of more details to tell you.
Do they recall if they were taken out the window, through the ceiling? How did they?
Yes, it was Alice and Lacey were taken. I believe Lacey at the time saw Alice being taken out of the window. When they brought her back, and of course,
when they say taken out the window, they mean the window's not open, obviously, right? So some kind of beam is probably like resonating them at some frequency where they can go through walls and go through windows, right? These are not
I mean, this is also the same thing that happened with Betty Andreessen, where the aliens came through her door, but it's clear that they didn't open the door and walk through it. They literally just zoop through the door.
Like angels of the past. I see. At least that's what our religious books say about angels, that they just walk through walls and they don't need to knock on a door and open it. So strange how that can happen.
During the course of this, people don't remember consciously. There's always a blackout period. So in the morning, Lacey saw Alice on the floor with a blanket around her neck. She was between her bed and the closet, and she was very upset and not feeling well. And of course, Lacey's going, what happened? What's the matter? She didn't remember, seeing her being taken. But during the course of hypnosis, Lacey did describe the beings in the room and having Alice taken out of there. and Lacey also described her being on the ship. It was, let's see, Mike described being on the ship as well. Then there was another two male members that were staying in a different hotel who were also taken that night.
Oh, a different hotel. So are these the two you were talking about, the friends?
No, I think
Oh.
Gary and the other guy were also in Coronado. I'm not positive about that.
Oh, okay.
And describing the one, Steve, he described Gary being very, very agitated. They couldn't calm him down. They couldn't control him.
Okay.
And that description was so perfect for Gary, because he was one of those that he was going to fight them. He was very tall. He had like a buzz cut, so he looked like he was in the Marines. Very big guy. And another very, very strange aspect of this is that Gary and Steve were rooming together. The next morning, Gary went to the bathroom in the hotel room. He heard, Steve heard Gary yelling, and he said, "You've got to come in here. You got to come in here and see this." And there was a triangle mark on the top of his penis.
What?
Yeah.
That is not
Yep.
unusual. I mean, for the people.
So
a triangle.
Yeah, it was bruised, and he had a triangle of dots in it. And obviously, it's made a really good joke on last podcast, but this guy was he talked about it in the book, trying to get a picture of it. But he's a big guy, but also he was kind of fat. So there's a huge description about how he was trying to, suck in his stomach, hold his penis, and take a picture, and he just couldn't get it right.
That's hilarious. Okay. But still, man, that must be scary to see.
Yeah, well, and again, he got tubes up the front and the back, according
So
to
this
his
is the big
direction.
guy. This is the big guy.
Yeah, this is Gary.
So because he was fighting, they probably did more to him or something.
Yeah.
Or he had yeah, or they wanted more from him. Maybe.
He's a big guy. They want those big old that big old seating material he's got.
Yeah, exactly. Agreed.
People that are listening to this, yes, of course it is. That is the third gentleman who discovered a penis on the top of his
triangle
on the top of his penis in my caseload. So I can imagine how many hundreds of men out there have discovered that we don't know about. It's something very difficult to talk about. So he was, he was very upset about it, of course, and didn't want to talk about it. When we had a meeting, a support group meeting after that, Gary sat on the other side of the room. He would not sit next to Steve. And that's when I discovered that people, I talk about the avoidance. People do not want to talk to each other afterwards, or one will avoid the other one. I think because if they talk about it, it makes it too real that this did happen. I wasn't imagining it. And so it was after that Gary especially didn't want to associate with Steve anymore. And here they were roommates, during the conference.
Right.
But that happens.
Yvonne, I'm going to take a quick time out. We'll come back and continue to delve into the Coronado mass abduction incident. Yvonne Smith stays with us. Abductions, it's a true story of a mass alien abduction, which took place in 94. Yvonne will be appearing at Contact in the Desert and the part of the Women of Ufology panel happening Friday, May 31st. From 8:30 a.m. to 10:05 a.m.
Earlier, they caravan down to the island. They're excited about going to the conference together and meeting other experiencers, possibly from other parts of the country. But we don't know it yet. There may have been other people that were also abducted that we don't know about. There were a couple of people after the book came out that I was doing a show, and the person emailed me after the show, said, I may have been there, but he did take further steps to try to find out for sure. I think he was nervous about doing a regression. And there was another person. So there may have been a couple of them there were a couple of them that I heard from, but there may have been more. And like I said, it's difficult for people to come forward and talk about this. They probably have these half memories that they're not sure about. But unless the person reaches out and takes that step of wanting to explore, they're left with their conscious memory. And many people do have conscious memory, but there is always more to it. There is always more information that comes forward, I have found, during the regression sessions.
The dozen that were taken aboard that we know of that were also participants in CIRO, are they all lifelong contactees or experiencers?
Oh, yes. That's the thing, Richard. It is a lifelong experience. This abduction experience usually starts in very early.
I know in the book, it's Mike Evans. He was having missing time as young as like 7 or 8 years old. He had been abducted as a kid many times apparently.
And are all of them residents of California, or are they like from different states?
I don't know the answer to that.
But yeah, I mean, it is a lifelong thing, right? And so I guess it makes sense. Maybe usually when you have a UFO conference, it's people from all walks of life, and it doesn't really happen to be with contactees. So this specific one, it's all contactees. It's crazy. But then it makes sense that why all of them were abducted then, because they have been contactees before, right? None of them it's the first time, is what I'm understanding.
Again, I know many of them had a previous abduction cases. I don't know if it was all of them though.
Okay.
Early childhood will follow the person throughout their life, as well as family members. It is intergenerational. So when I interview someone, I will ask about their grandparents, their parents, their children, if they have children. It just goes down the line. And I'm always honest with them that when many of them will ask me, can I stop this? Can you stop this? I don't want to, have this happen. And I wish I had that power, but I don't. And even when the experience will lay dormant, sometimes for years, something else will happen at some point. And they're often caught by surprise. But that's why when they ask me that question, can we stop this? I tell them, once you're in this program, in their program, they're going to have something for you to do. I have people in their late 70s and 80s asking me, what do they want with me now? I can't give them sperm. What do they want with me? And I tell them, I said, they will have something for you to do on the craft. And they do.
So these are lifelong experiencers. Was there anything different about, aside from this being a mass abduction and they're recognizing some of their, I guess, I don't know, colleagues from Zero or fellow experiencers, aside from remembering and recognizing them on board this craft, was there anything else different about this abduction compared to their other lifelong experiences?
Well, the medical examinations still happened. But what's obviously very, very different is that they were taken together. They did see each other on the craft, which it happens every once in a while when someone is regressed, and then they'll see a friend, they'll see a neighbor, they'll see a family member quite often. But with this, because there's so many people and all staying on the island at the same time, that's what made it so different. That it was, but the information came out slowly. It wasn't like, oh, I was abducted. Nobody says that. They don't feel well. They think maybe something happened. But unless you come away with a triangle, or something on your shin, blood on your pillow, someone can remain with those half memories for a very long time.
The abductee that had the implant, was that Miranda?
No, it was Alice.
Alice. Okay, tell me some more about that. This was on her shin?
This was on her shin, her left shin. I have another case of the brothers, Jesse and John Long. Jesse came away from his childhood abduction with an object on his shin, left shin. During this time, when she arrived home and a few days passed, she notified at the time my dear friend and colleague, Dr. Roger Lear, who was known for removing objects. She contacted him because they're good friends. And he did x-rays on her. There was something there. All that's in the book. There was also the x-rays, the pictures of it. And she decided to have it removed by Dr. Roger Lear and a colleague. But everything is, I interviewed Roger Lear at great length as I was writing the book. And so he goes through the details of what his findings, what he discovered, the lab reports and so forth. But what happens when someone has their implants removed, as Jesse did, as Alice did, they will be abducted again. And that abduction is not a pleasant one, because it seems that the beings are not happy that this object was removed. So they will implant the person again, and usually in an area where the doctor cannot reach it easily, say very near the brain. So for many, many years, I recommended people not having them removed unless it's causing them pain or discomfort. Because as I discovered how these subsequent abductions happen, they're going to abduct you. They're going to implant you, and really, many times you don't even remember until maybe later. So I don't recommend the removal.
No wonder why they don't tell us anything about this subject.
Yeah.
It's just because they can't do anything about it.
And just so the listener knows, the implant is described in the book, and it looked like a piece of glass with fibrous, like fibrous things, little tubes sticking off of it. It seems like it's just to hold it in place.
Oh, it could be. It could be it could be like small antennas though, like to emit like some kind of
Yeah,
radio.
well, it could be. Well, so I can't remember if this was this abduction or a later one, but anyway, some guy had his implant removed, and the next time he was abducted, the aliens apparently didn't recognize him.
Whoa.
During regression, he was like having this argument with the aliens, like, me, I'm me. You guys take me all the time. It's me. And apparently they were just like, no, you're not, because the one we abduct has the thing in his leg or whatever, wherever the implant was.
Dude, that's crazy.
And yeah, you do get it worse. These people get beat up. They're covered in bruises or weird marks when they, the next morning when they come back from their abduction, if they've removed their implant. It's bizarre.
Man, it really sucks to know that we're an own species,
Yeah.
Just like cattle.
I was just thinking about cattle, because if you brought in your cows one day and one of them was missing its ear tag, you'd be like, what the hell's going on?
Yeah.
Are you my cow? I don't know if you're
right.
My cow. You might be the neighbor's cow.
Yeah, that's such a good point. Man, this story is crazy.
It really is. This is why it's my favorite.
Removal of these objects, and we don't know if years down the line this is going to cause health problems. It doesn't seem to at this point, but we still don't know.
The Hotel del Coronado has an interesting history, and hence the subtitle of the book, The President, the Secret Service, and Alien Abductions. Bill Clinton, well, tell me about Bill Clinton, the timing of his visit to the Del Coronado in relation to this UFO conference.
Oh my gosh, that was a big surprise. We drove up, and a few of the serial members, as they all drove up, separately, Melinda in particular described in her chapter pulling up and seeing all these black SUVs, and she's thinking, "Oh my God, what is this?" She parked near the Del Coronado, and she was walking in because she wanted to. That was the night before the first day. She wanted to register and get her badge and so forth. And then she starts seeing these men in suits and earpieces and sunglasses, and she actually panicked. She actually thought, "Oh my God, they're here for us. They're going to question us. They're going to detain us." Yeah, she panicked. But she was told at the hotel that Bill Clinton was going to be there to do a speech during that weekend. But the island was swarming with Secret Service. As you know, they go ahead of time and they look for everything and look through everything to make sure.
Now, I'm just playing devil's advocate here, but do you think that them seeing, because she just said it right there, that they thought, "Oh my God, they're after us," like, them being part of this group, especially in the 90s, it was really taboo back then. Them seeing secret agents, Secret Service agents, black suits all over the island. Like, do you think that would implant like some subliminal things before they go to sleep?
Yes, I do. I think that's a really valid point. And this is exactly what we were talking about earlier with hypnosis. This is definitely the kind of stuff that can work its way into your subconscious and come out during quote unquote regression.
Right. Yeah.
What I find most humorous about that story is how competent the Secret Service seems. As we've seen recently, they don't seem very competent.
No, they don't. Exactly.
They're scared of slightly sloped rooftops.
Isn't that the most ridiculous thing you've ever heard? It was slightly sloped. We can't put anyone there.
And meanwhile, the guy who ended up getting the kill shots on a roof that's much more sloped.
Yeah, on his back. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
because he was on his knee. Well, he had one knee. One foot and one knee. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, good point there. So crazy
that the president's going to be secure. But what's very strange, I found out later, much later, one of my friends, a lawyer, said to me, this is really strange. Usually when the president is going to be at a certain venue, they will move and push other activities back or ahead. Prime example, President Obama. He went to Hawaii because that's where I guess some of his family lives. Where he was staying, they were going to have a wedding or having a wedding. The wedding was moved to another venue because the president was going to be there. He went over, which was really nice, and he apologized to the bride and groom. Now, here we were there. We had this plan for many, many months, the UFO conference, and yet we were allowed to have the conference. We weren't told, okay, you have to postpone this, you have to find another date or another venue. And so my friend said, he goes, I find that to be really strange, and especially with the subject matter. So, they knew we were there. I remember walking around the lobby of the Del Coronado, and I had my badge, and it said UFO, whatever the title was of the conference, UFO conference, my name. And I see, they were walking in pairs, basically walking, you could clearly see the earpieces. And I thought, wow, wonder what they think. It just was strange that we weren't booted out because that weekend because of the president. So, there could be a lot of implications for that I have no proof about.
Right. Well, he is interested. He stated publicly a number of times his interest in the UFO issue. That was apparently one of the first things that when he took office, he asked, was it Carl Hubble, I think, who later served on his staff, find out who killed Kennedy and do they have UFOs or alien bodies somewhere?
Absolutely. There's a picture of President Clinton and his wife, Hillary. They were walking with somebody, and she was holding a book in her arm, and somebody
with Rockefeller. She was walking with Rockefeller, and one of Rockefeller's palaces, and she was holding that book. I forget what the book is called. She's going to say it, but yeah, how can you forget that?
Somebody was able to what do you call it? Magnify the picture, and it was a UFO book. I don't remember which one it was, but it was during the 90s. It was during that time.
I think she met with Lawrence Rockefeller, actually.
Yeah, there we go.
Rockefeller. Maybe that's where she came away with the book. But so that's interesting. The whole thing is, we're never going to know. I remember speaking at one of the conferences about Coronado, and somebody had asked, do you think Clinton was abducted or taken aboard? I said, well, I don't know if he was abducted. We'll never know. But what's interesting, as you mentioned, he was very interested in the subject. The Beans may have known, probably knew he was going to be there too, and they may have taken him on board to have a meeting with him. It sounds so fantastic, but and as I mentioned, maybe somewhere down the line, I'll get more information about that. You never know what might come out of this, but right now I can't prove that. But it would certainly make sense to me that they would be interested to talk to him.
Right, and why abduct at least 12 people? Just on the eve of his arrival at the hotel. I don't know, to make some kind of a point, or as a
well, I think I think they would do that anyway because they have their agenda. They figure, boy, what a smorgasbord of abductees. They're going to take our blood, skin cells, and whatever DNA that they need while they're there, and that's why they described that was a very large ship. So, I'm hoping maybe someday I will. While I'm still on this earth.
She keeps saying that very large ship, but she doesn't say how big. Do we know?
She said 3 stories tall, approximately, according to some of the abductees. So, the size of a building.
That's nuts. That's so crazy. And so it could be also a show of force if there were Secret Service agents there just to tell them, like, see, we can take your subjects in a group, all of them, and you can't do anything about it.
Yeah, see, my mind went the other way, especially when she was talking about how they didn't get bumped and she was surprised. I was thinking that maybe it was the aliens were working in conjunction with Bill Clinton and the Secret Service. Bill's, I want to see what you guys do.
Yeah, maybe they knew that this event was happening, and that usually if a group of abductees or contactees are together, that it's a good chance that something will happen. And okay, you got to go to Coronado then. And he wanted to go there, and he kept the event happening there because he knew something would happen, and he would be able to witness it in some way. That's a good point. Something like that. We know he's obsessed with this.
Yeah, he's absolutely obsessed. And he used to love that movie Independence Day.
Yeah.
He'd screen it at the White House for people.
Is he saying some truth in that? No.
I don't know. He's on record as saying the only way to unite the whole world would be due to an alien attack or something along those lines. So
yeah, it's truth in that. Ronald Reagan said it too.
He was probably doing stuff like that in hopes to just get the aliens to actually come out.
Yeah. All right, so I think this is probably the end of this.
I'll get more information about that.
All right, we'll take another time out. Yvonne Smith is with us, certified hypnotherapist, as we continue to discuss the Coronado mass alien abduction hearing at Contact in the Desert in the Women of Ufology panel. And it's an amazing panel. We've got Yvonne, of course, Alexis Brooks.
Yeah, I was very shocked. Mike also passed away, so we lost 2 people. But everyone else has been, they've kept in touch because it was such a such an experience. That's so unexpected. We've discussed it for years in the support group meetings, and so they do want more publicity on this, which I wish it would have happened by now. But as I mentioned, I'm hoping that this will be turned into a feature film, and perhaps we can put together a documentary. And after we have our serial documentary, we've been working on that for about a year. You know how projects take so much time, but we'll see what happens down the line with Coronado. I will be taking copies of Coronado as well as Chosen to Contact in the Desert. I will also, if anyone's interested in my workshop, my
all right, so she's done. Cool, man. So they might make a feature film about this.
Yeah, I feel like it's got great potential for a movie.
Yeah, for
obviously,
sure.
I'm a little bit biased because I love movies about aliens and stuff, but I think there's
Yeah.
enough interest and intrigue here to make a pretty decent movie.
Yeah, and especially that a president was there and Secret Service was there.
And I'm thinking about a movie like this now. I mean, if they did this like Fire in the Sky, where basically all of the factual truth parts of it are shown first, and then you slowly get the full picture through the different regression parts, I think that'd be a cool movie.
Agreed. Yeah, that would be cool. So this is her book. She said that she's having a new version coming out. So Coronado, the president, the Secret Service, and alien abductions. 12 people were abducted at the same time.
So cool. I wonder
Nuts.
if it's on Audible. I've got a free credit there, and I should listen to this book. I just want to go through my notes really quick. I'm really glad she covered the stuff with Gary, but I thought the guy.
Oh, you're on mute again. Doesn't look like there's an Audible, or it actually doesn't show up on Amazon. Oh, you're back.
That's so stupid. My might have to get a new microphone. My USB port. If I jiggle it just a little bit,
or maybe it's the USB cord.
Yeah, I'm just going through my notes here. She covered it. That was a good interview. Yeah, she pretty much covered everything I knew about the abduction. Yeah, it was very cool. It was a Saturday night. It was March 26th in '94. I know she said March '94. But yeah, I mean, it's a really fascinating story. And there's something to it because Mike Evans, he was having ear pain and went to a doctor, and the doctor told him he had a hole in his eardrum. So something happened, and they pulled something out of Alice's leg.
Right. Yeah.
And I don't think she mentioned it, but the next morning, one of the things with Alice is she woke up with a scoop mark in her leg and couldn't figure out what was going on until she had it X-rayed and removed by Dr. Lear.
I mean, now and crazy that Dr. Lear is. Last week we covered the Turkey UFO incident, and Dr. Lear was there for one of the years.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, what a case! Can't believe I've never heard of it.
It's a lot of fun. Yeah, if anyone wants to hear really a good recap of this in a humorous format, check out the episode last podcast on the left that covers this.
I found that on there. Yeah, definitely check that out.
It's fun, and they cover it truthfully, but make it humorous. It's great.
Well, cool. I mean, moving on, you sent me something that's right on topic. How can I stop alien abductions permanently on Reddit?
Yeah, this guy posts on Reddit. He's been abducted all his life. He says, they told me they are going to leave, but it has been a long time since they said that. I need a surefire technique to get rid of them. I told them to remove my implants, but they harassed me for years. They told me nicely that if I asked them to remove my implants while in bed and then immediately start to attempt to astral project, I will be thinking they are coming back. Why would they say that?
Okay, so wait. I don't understand his sentence. They told me nicely.
It's not in native English speaker.
Oh, okay. So he's trying to say here that if you ask us nicely and you astral project, we'll leave you alone, kind of thing.
I think it's the opposite. If you ask to get, because it sounds like he likes to astral project. A lot of people do that as they lie in bed. But he says if he asks them to remove it and then he goes to astral project, they're going to be really mad about that.
Oh, so basically don't ask us to remove it. Just like what Yvonne just said. Leave it in there.
Yeah, well, I think it has to do with the astral projection. They don't like that if he's also going to ask them to remove the implants.
I'm confused. So All right, so they do want us to leave implants in, but you're saying that they don't like astral projection either?
They don't with this guy, I guess not. They don't want him to
Yeah.
astral project without his implants.
Okay.
Yeah.
And there's some people here, someone said like bring up Jesus or whatever, and you have people in there saying, well, I tried that 3 times and they still haven't gone away, kind of thing. Where's that guy? Apparently praying loudly to Jesus works, or evoking in the name of Jesus Christ. They apparently really don't like that. I'm not Christian, but I do like to research why this works. Could be because they're demons, but I really have no idea. So someone, where is he? This guy. I've tried this 3 times and it didn't work for me.
Well, so the guy commented right under. I'm not asking this snarkily. I'm really asking. Do you believe it when you were saying it?
Good point.
I want to see it. No, and I'm in agreement with you. I was just hold on. I was truly.
He goes,
just
I'm not
asking.
religious.
Yeah. Interesting. Very interesting.
Yeah, and when you sent this to me, I told you
Mhm.
because I used to have these events, and they were like kind of panic attacks, and they started. I think this when they started, probably 2014 or no 2013 or 2012, even when they started, and they weren't that frequent, but probably like once a year or twice a year or something. But it was like an ominous presence, and then my heart would stop beating, and then irrational fear would come, and I'd get dizzy. Like, really, it was terrible. I hated them, completely hated them. But then only like since only in 2020 is when I started, I guess, trying to stand up to it, and I would think to myself that I have the spirit of the creator inside of me, or inside of my heart, that's why I have a heartbeat,
Mhm.
And really believing it too. And you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they've gone since then. They haven't come back. Yeah.
So you gotta find a way to take the power back.
Yes, a power that would scare them. And I guess why would, if it's something that's spiritual, and since, God and that creative force is a spiritual force, if they are a spiritual force, or understand that, then, let's just move on, kind of
Yeah.
thing. Yeah. So, I mean, I kind of understand that, what they're saying. I mean, and this guy's is kind of similar to that. I need a surefire. Oh, he's asking people. Okay. So
Yeah.
he never responded to anything. This guy, ancient ancestral.
What's the top comment say? Sky says he also has the problem. I would declare day and night. I do not consent to being taken at any time, place, space, or dimension. I'm a free being, and I do not agree to being abducted. Doesn't say if it works though, does it? But still, once again, it's the same theme of you're your own. This is my power. You can't take this away from me. I'm not going to allow you.
Right.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's a very. I mean, that's why I think the whole Jesus Christ thing works, because if you believe in God, you believe in a higher power. There it is again. There's that word power. That is the source of your power. Whereas these aliens they want to be the source of power. So
and maybe that's the gift of religion too, to humans. Whether you believe it or not, that whoever gave it to us, or communicated to us, wants to help humanity, and that is a way to help us. Maybe they know we're an own species or something.
Mhm.
And yeah, I believe that too.
Anyway, so it's interesting that how much some people seem to struggle with this.
Yeah. Now, it does seem like an American thing, and maybe because we're biased, or because people report it here more. Maybe, I mean, in Catholic, they have exorcisms. I mean, could that be abductions in a way?
Yeah, I mean, I think it was mentioned in one of the comments down the row. I saw it as you were scrolling by. Said someone, I think the first one you read, there it is. Supposedly, this is partially what exorcisms deal with. He's not Catholic. Talked to experiencers before who had dealt with it through the church and converted after the fact. Exorcists apparently work with this stuff. I mean, think about it. This has happened for a while. How did they do it in the past? Who has the most experience? It's going to be mostly the Catholic Church or other shamanic practices. Just the Catholic Church has literally schools that teach this people stuff. Yeah, I mean, like we've talked about it many times on the show that maybe these aliens are in fact demons, or maybe this is what demons have always been, are aliens abducting us, but we lacked the context to understand what they were, so we just called them demons. you know, it all comes back into one original point.
True, we call them demons because I mean they might not be demonic, but if something is taking you against your will, it's
and through
to you it's evil,
right? And especially if it's something highly technological like aliens appear to be, and you can't understand that as a peasant in the 1500s, you're going to go, oh, this is magic. These are demons that are doing this.
Yeah, right. And everything has to do with consciousness too. If they can't subdue you or get you to be controlled, and you're believing in a higher power and whatever, you're not going to be able to be controlled. I just happen to have this thought now is that governments do the same thing. They would rather you believe in the power of the state. And like when COVID happened, you had the religious people who were against the COVID tyranny, and you had the people who loved the state going with it.
Mm-hmm.
So there might be something similar there where if you believe in a higher power, you cannot be controlled, and or it's easier for you to not be controlled.
Right.
Cool. So Merrick, his last name's hard to say, but he goes by Merrick VR. He interviewed Kirkpatrick, and I don't think he hasn't released it yet, but he released some snippets, and some of these are hilarious. Just catching him. I'm surprised Kirkpatrick went for this interview. Completely shocked. So I think we're getting it this week, the whole interview, but we do have some snippets here. So he goes, I spoke with ex-Aero director Dr. Kirkpatrick for over an hour. The full discussion, will be posted tomorrow. I didn't see it. Anyway, Kirkpatrick, I haven't looked at NASA's Go Fast analysis, and since gimbal was at night, I've reached out for clarity. So basically, he's catching him in some lies. So here they're talking about the gimbal incident, which is the USS Nimitz one, right? Gimbal?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
Part of that is glare that you're also getting off of the reflection. That's why it's so apparently hot, because you have to now and do the sun angles off of that.
This was at night, first of all.
Okay, it was at night. That's right. This is the gimbal.
This happened 10 minutes after the Go Fast video, 100, 200, 300 nautical miles off the coast of Florida, and there's no balloon trajectory. We looked at every single possible. There's no plausible within the lines of sight, right? Within the AT FLIR lines of sight, that's the elevation and the azimuth. There's no plausible balloon trajectory within the lines of sight.
But you don't have range. So I don't understand what you mean there's no trajectory in line of sight, because there is one. It was recreated. There's a way to do that where you
love to see that analysis, because I don't think even the likes of Mick West, who spent more time than anybody on this, has found a trajectory that finds this moving in the wind as a balloon 300 miles off the coast of Jacksonville.
Okay, well, I would have.
Well, let's move on. Let's move on. I've got a lot more. Just briefly, quickly on Go Fast.
Okay.
NASA did not account for wind. That's a massive scientific error. And when you account for wind, you get a speed. If you're assuming the range is correct and this object was at 13,000 feet, you get a speed that's closer to 100 knots, 120 miles an hour. That's a pretty stunning error on NASA's part, I think.
Well,
planes don't fly in vacuums, right?
I haven't looked at NASA's analysis.
You have not looked at
a liar. So he caught him in that too, about I haven't seen NASA's analysis. I mean, he's blatantly lying on screen or in the interview.
UFO Fauci, man.
Yep, he really is. He's exactly like him. And there's no shame. He doesn't flinch. Nothing. He gets caught in the lie. He just continues like nothing happened.
Yeah, I just shameless, absolutely shameless.
So here's another clip. He goes, Kirkpatrick says Aero has the non-retaliation portions of Grush's ICIG complaint. If accurate, why are we only learning this now? Given Grush's profile, why was this not clarified months ago? Like basically in the historical report. Mm-hmm. Completely at odds with Congress and UAPDA. So if you remember in the historical report, they didn't mention any of this about Grush. They basically just said whatever Grush said, we didn't get any of it, and the people that we interviewed people the same people that he interviewed, and we found nothing. I know, it's really crazy.
Russia gone in to talk to those two, ICIG and DODIG, and we had to get, they couldn't just give me the statement because it's protected under law enforcement whistleblower protections. So we had to go through this long process of getting the relevant data pulled out and separate it from his complaint about wrongful prosecution.
Retaliation, yeah.
We had to separate the data, if he had any, from that. The data that was provided, we cross-referenced with what we'd already known because we had interviewed most of the people that he had already talked to, and there was nothing new.
So Arrow received if I just want to get this clear, Arrow received portions of Rush's ICIG complaint.
We got the portions that did not have to do with retaliation.
Got it. So, okay, that's very helpful. Excellent. All right.
Good job, Merrick. And then there's more. Proof. The U.S. government cannot tell the truth about UAP. Here is ex-Arrow director Dr. Kirkpatrick caught in an objectively clear, unambiguous lie. Months ago, he backed NASA's analysis of the Go Fast video, but today he told me I haven't looked at NASA's analysis.
I forgot about the orders that day.
Look at him just.
Go Fast actually was explained at the NASA panel. They did a really nice job of pulling that apart and demonstrating that was parallax.
I've got a lot more, just briefly, quickly on Go Fast.
Okay.
NASA did not account for wind. That's a pretty major.
Yeah, we heard that. So, but yeah, I should have played that after the first clip. And then here's one about gimbal. This is a good clip as well. So here he goes. Arrow knows, as every expert that I spoke with told me, that the AT FLIR pod does not rotate in quote unquote steps. So they made an absurd explanation for these steps. Mick West rightly calls it nonsense. The West versus Arrow discrepancy means that the gimbal UAP rotated.
The object rotates in 4 distinct rotations, right? They're choppy. They're disconnected.
Okay, but you don't have the raw data. You're using internet data.
Internet data.
So anything that's choppy is from image compression.
And that's Mick West saying.
Oh my God.
But what's fascinating is the way this object rotates down to the second at the apex of that turn. And here it is right here. That long continuous rotation matches to the second at that range given by the aviators. That is from a math and science perspective, that's extraordinary. The odds of finding that highly anomalous track and also matching visually the rotation, this is another view of that, I find to be astounding. That's like a 1 in a trillion chance, right? So this rotation, that green line is that reconstructed flight path at that roughly 6 nautical mile range. And that rotation in that animated on the left, that is not in any way fudge. That is the actual rotation of the object in the video.
I want to watch the entire interview, man.
Yeah.
All right, here's the final one. So, whoa, was there like F1 racing happening?
Yeah, I can hear that. Wow. They're getting ready for the Grand Prix.
That's what it sounds like. So so apparently Arrow is the one that gutted the UAP Disclosure Act. It was them.
We knew that, right?
We knew it was that. We said the IC, right? We said the intelligence community, but Kirkpatrick is saying it was him.
Well, he is intelligence.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the point. Arrow is not our friend.
If I heard you correctly, did you say that you or Arrow pushed back on the Schumer rounds amendment when it was proposed last year? That seems to be a big mystery as to how it was, shall we say, watered down. Other people say gutted.
So let's be clear about how the process works in the United States government.
Oh, tell us.
Every year, the NDAA is put together by proposals from both the Senate and the House side.
Correct.
Okay. Those proposals are socialized with the department.
Right.
The department then gets an opportunity to write a reclama that goes back to the Hill that says, hey, this is not a good idea for these reasons, or this would be better if it was written this way.
Oh, I don't recall in the Constitution that Congress and the Senate have to go to the Department of Defense and ask their opinion about a law they want to pass because their constituents are asking them to pass it.
You forget, though, the intelligence community gets to decide what laws pass and what the language is in laws at all times. So they can just do whatever they want.
And there it is. Yeah, exactly. Thank you, Kirkpatrick. I don't know if he meant to do that. He's like, let me tell you how it works in the U.S. government.
Yeah.
Like we don't, like, it's not in the Constitution. Obviously they've threw it away.
And don't forget, if you say you're going to break up the CIA or you want to limit their power, you get shot in the head.
Yeah, in broad daylight. It almost happened again.
Yeah, how crazy.
Yeah, we just can't really support this because of these resource constraints or whatever the case may be. And that is true for every piece of the NDAA. Right? It gets farmed back to us and we get to, or the department, to go look at that. As Arrow, the pieces of legislation that were written about Arrow come to us and we are allowed to write our thoughts and disclaimers. And so we wrote exactly that. Look, this is duplicative of language you gave us in 22. Let us finish the thing that you told us to do the first time before you write additional legislation.
Got it. Did that, go ahead. Did that apply? Did Arrow's, let's say, commentary on this reclama, did that extend to the review board? Is that what you see as duplicative? I'm sure you're, sorry, let me provide background. I'm sure you're tracking the proposed supposedly blue ribbon panel, right? Was that something that
it's
Arrow
the same
upon?
It's the same, exactly. We said the same thing on that. We're like, why do you need that? Look, Arrow, everybody needs to understand, Arrow.
Yeah, why would you need an independent panel when you have the intelligence community investigating itself?
Exactly. That, and nothing ever goes wrong when we've got governing bodies investigating their own wrongdoings.
Right.
Like, it's just like when the cops investigate their own wrongdoings.
Man, good for America. Those are some great clips.
Yeah.
I just love how he's pretty much nonchalant. He goes, okay, got it. Like, he's not really saying anything. He's not really confronting him. He's letting him say those answers and then coming on Twitter with his conclusions.
Yeah, good. I mean, good for this guy. We need to continue to knock down Kirkpatrick. Or just no one should believe a word that comes out of this guy's mouth.
And he's been retired, right? And he's still doing this. I guess you've said it before. Once you can never really retire from the intelligence community. Once you're CIA or intelligence, you always are.
Mm-hmm.
You can never leave. And here's an older clip. And have you seen this before? I've seen it before. It's Robert Dean. He was a NATO intelligence analyst. He apparently got cosmic clearance and got to see the papers in the 60s about aliens.
I've heard of this, but I don't know much about this guy.
It's a cool clip. He read these documents, and in 1963, I think. Yeah, 1963 and 1967, he got cosmic clearance. And,
hell yeah.
Yeah, and he's not like some liar or something. This guy, he's a well-known NATO intelligence analyst. So here's a good interview with him, and he tells us what NATO knew back in the 60s.
Cool. At Supreme Headquarters, Allied Powers, Europe, the military arm of NATO. He was an intelligence analyst with a cosmic top-secret clearance.
Well, Don, it began for me in 1963 when I was assigned to the Supreme Headquarters Allied Powers in Europe. I arrived in the summer of '63 and I was assigned to the Operations Division. I was further assigned to what we call SHOCK, the War Room, the Supreme Headquarters Operations Center. And at that time, I was given a cosmic top secret clearance, which was and still is the highest level of security access that NATO has. When I was assigned to the war room, I learned that a study had been initiated in 1961, and everybody was talking about it. They were gossiping about it. And the subject was UFOs, and that intrigued me a bit. When that study was concluded in 1964 and it was published, and I was still working in the war room at that time, I had access to this document. I had a chance to read it. And having been exposed to it, I must tell you honestly that my life has never, ever quite been the same. Because I read firsthand reports, verifiable NATO military material that indicated that the UFOs were not only real, that they represented something far beyond anything I had ever imagined before. When the study was concluded in '64, they concluded that there were 4 different groups apparently coming and visiting us. Out of those 4 different groups, one group looked exactly like we do, so much so that they could sit beside you in a restaurant or in an airplane or in a theater, and you'd never know. And that particular point bothered the military guys a lot. The point being that some of these people from somewhere could be walking up and down the corridors of SHAPE headquarters, or they could be walking up and down the corridors of the Pentagon. One day at lunch, a lieutenant colonel made the remark, he says, "Jesus, do you realize they could even be in the White House?"
Huh.
And there was a little forced laughter at that point, I remember, because a lot of us over the years have had some misgivings about the occupants of the White House. But the point I'm making is that the idea that aliens could be here in our midst bothered the military, because if you're not paranoid when you go into the service, you're certainly trained very quickly to be so. It's the nature of the military mind, I think, to be paranoid. But that was only part of the story. The SHAPE conclusions in '64 were that there were 4 groups that we knew of. They were apparently interplanetary. Some very likely were interstellar. They even concluded that some of them could be intergalactic.
That's nuts.
When I retired in 1976, many of our military people knew at that point that we were not simply dealing with visitations from people from other planets or star systems. They had concluded by '76 that some of these visitors very well might be multidimensional in their source. The evidence that we had collected and the evidence that they had repeatedly demonstrated to us, and that's no accident. It became very clear after a time that there was a program or a process of some kind underway, that they had demonstrated over and over and over again that they apparently were able to manipulate matter and time. Now, this really shook up our scientists. There are a lot of new young scientists in particle physics today who talk about multiple dimensions. There's a brilliant young professor in New York by the name of Michio Kaku, who has written a brilliant book called Hyperspace, where they talk about 10 separate dimensions. I'm not enough of a physicist to try to explain to you what a dimension is, but
now you can look at politics or what happens in the world, with this information, and then it'll make a lot more sense. Like, why are we headed this way? Why does the government do what it does? Why is it do some wars that it does? I guess what's that called? Exopolitics. I always thought, like, and I'm sure I've talked to this on the show. I've talked to you about it too. Like, I always thought the jab wasn't really meant for us, or to track us or whatever. It's to track the ones that we can't tell, the ones that look human, the ones that are walking among us, kind of thing. If you were a military and you're paranoid, like you said, and you don't know who these people are, where they are, the best way is to get something in everyone and force it on in everyone. Then you'll know,
Right.
It's just so scary to think about, and I get like why they're scared about it.
Well, and there's also a surefire way to figure out who the aliens are among us. I see them on the freeway just about every day. They cannot drive a car.
They're usually Asian looking, right?
Whoa! I didn't say that. There's a lot of different,
boom, boom. It's a
there's a
joke,
lot of
guys.
different people of different races and genders that cannot drive cars.
I know.
Actually, on my way to work, there was a new one. I was stuck in traffic. It was early morning. There was a box truck that had flipped on its side across 2 lanes on the freeway, and I was just like, how do you even screw up that bad?
Yeah.
I'm assuming they hit like the side, cement thing and
Yeah, that's probably
overcorrected
what
and
happened.
rolled. But man, yeah, just get on the freeway so you can see who the aliens are.
Yeah, cool. So really cool stuff that he brought to us. Not many other. Did I ever tell you that story about I almost got a NATO card
No.
when I was in Iraq? It's okay. All right. So when we were in Iraq, we had to go get our IDs from the Department of Defense, right? So there was one area where you'd go, but this one area would print all of them. They'd print the U.S. Embassy, they'd print the DoD, and apparently NATO. So the group there, when it was my turn to go up, they were up all night. And I remember she printed my ID and she goes, "Oh, wait a minute, that's a NATO ID." She goes, "I'm sorry, I've been up all night." And then I'm like, "Damn it, I almost got a NATO ID." But all those guys were there back then. Everyone.
Oh wow.
I know. All right, we can move on from that. Oh, so now we go from that to this. You have Dr. Brandenburg. He's a very respected. I guess he's a contractor for the Department of Defense. He's the one that figured out that there were nukes launched on Mars because he found, I think, xenon. I forget what he found in the atmosphere there. But the DoD gave him clearance to tell everyone that in Mars's past there was a nuclear holocaust that happened, and there was probably a civilization there. But on this podcast, through a glass darkly radio, he says that the UFOs that we see, or at least that were seen in the 1950s by like Adamski, were from the Nazis, that we took their plans and we built our own, or it was the Nazis as well, is what he's saying. So
again, not far-fetched at all.
No, it's not.
What we know about Operation Paperclip and how NASA got its beginnings.
Exactly.
It's not a far-fetched idea at all.
No, it's not. I just don't like people painting a whole brush, because that's what happens when this information comes up. Oh, that's all Nazis and that's all United States technology, and there are no other non-human intelligences.
Right.
So here's a small clip from that.
And so that's where the U.S. got its anti-gravity program. Now, when you do the gem theory to design a flying saucer that'll fly with its anti-gravity using this pointing, it's called the Tesla vortex, you get a dish, and on the bottom of the dish is 3 bumps. Those are the Tesla inductors, 1 for each phase. And that's just what the Hannibal saucers, Hannibal 2, you can look them up. That's just what they look like.
Yeah, it's the Nazi saucers.
A dish with 3 bumps on the bottom. That wasn't the Hannibal 1. The Hannibal 1, apparently the bottom was just flat, probably because they had the 3-phase inductors stuck inside. But the final version had 3 bumps, and you can actually go higher than 3. You can go 4 or 5, how many you want, as long as everything rotates. The fields rotate, but the 3 inductor is the simplest, and of course then the lightest. So, and if you look at the Adamski saucers, that's what they look like. They look like a metal dish with 3 bumps on the bottom. So the United States government knows how to make anti-gravity. It learned it from the Germans. And that's classified still. Now,
and why is it classified? I mean, why have they held on to it for all these years?
Oh, well, because it looks like a flying saucer, and they don't want people putting 2 and 2 together, saying, "Gee, are some of those saucers ours? Are some of them from outer space, etc." but that's the basic craft you get is a saucer with 3 bumps on the bottom, or more, 3 or more. You can always run it with more. And
I mean, what has your opinion evolved over the years about keeping this stuff classified? Oh wait, I'm gonna have to pause. Okay, 1 second.
Okay. What?
Yes, yeah. So, yeah, has your opinion evolved on the secrecy of this? Obviously, it's not like there's a lockdown on this information. It's out there. It's just not ever been officially verified, right? So for those who want to know and have, the logic to deduce that yes, this stuff is real, they can get there and they can get that information. It's not like it's locked down or anything. But my question is, so do you think this information should be openly out there with
Yeah, of
all the
course.
problems we have in the world?
I still think anytime knowledge is held and kept secret, it's being used as a weapon somewhere, somehow. And I don't like that because clearly our US government has plenty of weapons. They don't need to keep the public in the dark anymore. I don't buy the whole bullshit excuse of, oh, the public couldn't handle it. We were talking about it earlier. The government is not our parents. The government is not our religion. They don't get to decide, what they think we can handle or what we can't. That's up for us to decide.
Yeah.
I understand from a military perspective not wanting to give away all your secrets, because I do believe that some of the things that are seen in the sky are American or some other government around the world. Like I kind of lean towards all those big triangle UFOs. We covered that. What was it, last week, the week before?
Yeah.
I kind of lean
the Belgian ones.
Well, not just the Belgian ones, but just anytime we've covered like those big, we've got videos of them, the big triangle UFOs with the glowing light in the middle. I think that's Earth created craft,
Earth-based.
That's just the way I lean on that.
Yeah.
Because as we've seen with true UFOs, how we were looking at go fasts and all that stuff. I mean, those move way too quickly and too awkwardly for humans to be able to handle it. But the triangle UFOs, what do? They sit in the sky and they just loom there. They don't zoom around. Sometimes they are kind of like sideways or whatever. That I can kind of make peace with that, but they don't they don't act like the typical like UFOs do. So I can kind of see those being Earth created crafts. And
to extrapolate from what Brandenburg said, that it was three different points, phases. So the triangular craft has that same, so it's like an evolution of those earlier crafts, and then them being black is just so like the U.S. Air Force, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah. But all right, so I guess I'm for not disclosing everything because we have bad people in the world. I'm not saying our government are angels. They're not. They support genocide and they've done crazy, really bad things in the world, So they can't claim that they're angels and they're the only ones who should have this information. However, I don't think everyone should have what they have.
No.
Because who knows? You just don't want this technology in the hands of people that can... It's like nukes. All right, tell everyone nukes are real, but we're not going to tell you how to make them.
Right, or where they are. I mean, that's I completely agree with that.
So just tell us. Non-human intelligence is real. They visit us, and we're not going to tell you what the technology is.
Yeah.
Right? Is that so crazy?
Apparently so. Apparently so. There is a large portion of this country that is pretty hardcore Christian. I don't know where their beliefs would go if our U.S. government came out and said, hey, aliens are real, UFOs are real. They've been visiting us since who knows how long. Here's a picture of Gary the Gray Alien that we took in the 50s. It's legit. Actually, here he is right now. I'm going to bring him on stage. He's my vice presidential nominee. But I agree with what you say. I think they should be treated just like nukes. Yes, we have nukes. Yes, we've got a lot of them. We're not going to tell you how to make them, and we're not going to tell you where they are.
Exactly. And you bring up a good point about religion again. And yeah, I mean, a huge portion of the population here are religious, and they would immediately say it's demonic, and these are demons, and the government is working with demonic forces.
Yeah.
The movie Contact, well, the movie based on the book Contact, has an element of that. When she comes out with the plans, I remember, and she builds it, and there was a religious fundamentalist that got in there and blew it up. He blew up the first thing that she made, or that the government made. So
that the ending to that pissed me off so bad because she like fell through the thing, right? And it's like, well, you didn't go anywhere. This only lasted a second long. And then it's like, well, we've got 18 minutes of static footage. It's like, how is that? How did no one catch that?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, obviously something happened.
Yeah, it was such an obvious thing. I haven't seen that movie in, well, I don't know how long. I think I must have been in high school when I saw that movie. And I remember even then I was like, that's dumb.
Yeah. It was a frustrating movie. But
cool
still
movie.
Cool.
A very cool movie. Jodie Foster's great as always.
Yeah, agreed. And yeah, I mean, I think he wrote that book before he died, when he was a debunker for most of his life. So Carl Sagan, maybe it was just his homage and goodbye to us.
Hey, Carl Sagan. I respect the guy, but I don't like his skeptic view on UFOs and aliens.
Me neither. Well, he came up with that quote, right?
Well, again, I always bring up this abduction. It's probably the most famous one, the Betty and Barney Hill. Betty had a star map of where the aliens were from, and he came out and goes, "Oh, that could be anything." It's just, and it like lined up perfectly with the star charts and all that. Like, there's all this proof, and he would just go, "No, it's not real. Just 3 dots." No.
Yeah, so he said, he goes, the question of whether one believes in UFOs is a matter of evidence, not belief. He also said that extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence.
Unreal.
Thanks, Carl.
Just a wet blanket.
Yeah.
Carl Wet Blanket Sagan. That's what everyone called him. I heard that.
Wet blanket, huh?
Yep. That was his nickname for his whole life.
So you sent me this. It's from the Netherlands.
Yeah, there was a couple good videos that were posted on Reddit recently that I thoroughly enjoyed.
So it's another orb, too.
Yeah.
So it looks like phones are getting better.
A little bit.
Yeah, I mean, it's not as blurry as they used to be. And like the zoom is working good. Look at it, it's pulsating.
And it looks like this is not fully at night, and it's not during the day. It looks like dusk.
Right.
Or dawn. Dusk.
But you can see it rotating. It's rotating and pulsating.
As these orbs are known to do at this point.
Yeah. And if anyone's saying it's CGI.
Yeah, you'd have a tough time calling this one CGI. This is just another weird, I mean, how do you explain this?
Yeah, I mean, especially that's going behind the trees too.
It's moving, like, there it goes. Going left and right, and yeah, I mean,
erratic.
Yeah, there it goes. Anyway, another cool lights in the sky video. It doesn't look like it comes back.
No, he's looking for it.
Too bad.
What else do we have? Oh, we have a Nazca mummy update. You sent me as well from Paul Ibarra Meda.
Yeah, a lot of weird stuff has been happening. I can't wait to get the full scoop on the Nazca mummies. But this is one of the what is it called?
Pterodactyl?
No. This is like one of the parts of a skeleton they have.
Oh, okay.
Very odd shaped hand, if that's truly what this is.
So weird.
Could you scroll down just a little bit? I can't see the full picture. Yeah, I mean, it's just a weirdly shaped, if that's truly what it is a hand. But there's no thumb. I don't know. And the fingers have like, how many joints? Like 6 joints there? Like way too many knuckles.
Yeah, I always thought this about like things of aliens, and like, you know, how we have an opposable thumb, and it makes us create things. You know, we can create things intricately and accurately.
It's the whole basis of our evolutionary point.
Yeah,
having thumbs. That's why we beat out all the other animals.
I mean, could you imagine trying to create something with 3 fingers?
No,
you can't, unless it's just like magical wands they use them for to levitate things. I don't know.
Yeah, who knows? I mean,
it's hard to think about.
Yeah, it is really hard to think about.
So I mean, here we go. It's a X-ray.
Yeah, just way too many segments on that hand.
Yeah,
And the
yeah.
bone
exactly.
structure in the quote unquote palm is bizarre too.
So this guy's saying last night's last night's interview with biologist Jose Rios allowed us to examine one of the gigantic hands with a semicircular bone, not found on any living thing in our planet, you mean on our planet, nor in any fossil record prior to its appearance in Nazca, supporting the extraterrestrial hypothesis. Interesting.
Very interesting. And very creepy looking hand. Ugh.
Yeah. Because you can look at that. Look how, who hooks this?
Like, I wonder if it rolls up. Like, you know how you can curl your fingers into a fist?
Ah, yeah.
Rolls and roll like a fruit roll up.
It has to. Look, yeah, because it has, you can bend it here,
It's got
here,
the joints,
here. Yeah.
And there, and there.
And here. And
on the
here.
knuckle. Yeah. It rolls up like a scroll.
Interesting. So
Anyway.
what does he say? He goes, there is a metal plaque that the doctor noticed on the back of the hand too. I thought releasing this would be risky, but I think it's time. I gotta be honest, I don't know what to make of this. Every single person I got to interview about this said that there's a giant pterodactyl's hand. Tridactyl hand that is currently under thorough investigation by specialists.
There it is.
I mean, it is it's a story that's always being updated weekly. It's not going away.
Much as the CIA tries to get rid of these.
Yeah, honestly, I made fun of it when it first hit the Mexican Congress.
Because it seems so ridiculous, and the pictures don't do it any justice, and they started x-raying and doing scans and everything else, and the more and more we hear about this, the more proof is coming out that this is something.
Yeah, and the MRIs, and then that one that was pregnant with a baby. Bizarre.
Very bizarre.
NASA's lunar orbiter. You sent me this as well.
Yeah, this is great. NASA's lunar orbiter reveals hidden tunnels on the moon.
Love it.
So much moon talk. AJ on the Y-Files just posted a long compilation of all those different moon videos, and I'm running through that, and man, it's great. Hecklefish apparently is running for president. Be sure to go out and vote for Hecklefish. Yep, they did a whole ad about it.
I did not see that. I watched. What was the last episode? Wasn't it about the Philadelphia experiment?
Yes.
Yeah, that was a good one.
Yeah, I love the Philadelphia experiment. I don't buy any of it. It's been pretty thoroughly debunked, but it's a fun story.
It is fun, especially that Al Bielek guy.
Yeah. Oh man. Hold on. I'm going to read that sentence there. The presence of conduits below the lunar surface has been theorized and extensively debated for at least 50 years. The analysis of NASA Lunar Reconnaissance Orbiter radar data reveals what lies below the Mare Tranquillitatis.
Tranquillitatis. I don't know.
It's like a big, what's it called? Crater on the moon, I think.
Yeah.
A team of international scientists published a research study. Scientists have demonstrated the existence of a tunnel in the lunar subsurface. It seems to be an empty lava tube. The research study was published on July 15th in Nature Astronomy and is the result of an international collaboration. So it's cool. NASA is still doing stuff.
Yeah. Especially that they've said that it could be hollow. You know, it would make sense that there's a bunch of caverns, huge caverns down there.
Yeah. Really, listeners, go watch the newest episode of the Y-Files, and I mean, all this stuff is talked about. There's a lot of weird things about the moon, things that I have learned and forgotten over and over again, such as, like here on Earth, the new rocks, you know, even on land, they sink over long periods of time. So the older you go down, the older the rocks are, but that's not the case on the moon.
Exactly.
It's the opposite, which is bizarre in and of itself.
Right, which means someone excavated it.
Right. Plus, you've got the fact that they crashed a lunar lander into the moon, and the moon rung like a bell. That's pretty common knowledge.
For an hour.
Yeah, it just rang and rang and rang. I mean,
and just how big it is and where it's placed, and it's a perfect position for eclipses.
Yeah,
and people and their cultures that talked about the days before the moon arrived.
Yeah, that's also covered in the Y-Files episode. Yeah, that's also pretty crazy stuff. I hope you play that moon video I sent you.
Did you send me a moon video?
You don't happen to have that lined up, do you?
I don't think so.
That's too bad.
Or maybe I do.
Because we're seeing a lot of people with amateurs with telescopes are seeing all these giant things happening on the moon. I mean, what was it, like almost a year ago? We had that guy.
Was that from Reddit? No.
No, it was I don't know what it was. I can't remember. I sent it to you like either yesterday or the day before, so it's going to be further down the list. But people are capturing all sorts of weird stuff on the moon.
Oh yeah, more orbs. No, that's the one. So maybe it was from last. Oh wait, maybe it's this one. 1 second. But yeah, oh yeah, I do. Yes, I remember seeing that you sent me. How come I'm not finding it? Because I remember looking at it now. It was something. It was something in orbit that dropped.
Yeah, it looks like some sort of big ship over the moon that's dropping something to the moon, like a smaller ship.
Was that the most recent one
Pretty sure.
that you sent? Oh yeah, here it is. Here, let's take a look. Moon occupied. Whoa.
Yeah, I mean, what the hell would this be? At first, I was like, but that doesn't make any sense. I was thinking maybe it was like something we had sent to the moon, but that doesn't.
I mean,
make
it could be.
either.
Who knows?
I don't think. I still, even with a telescope, I don't think you'd be able to see it.
Unless it's massive.
It'd have to be absolutely huge. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's not like you can just pull out your telescope and see where the original lunar lander is.
I mean, yeah, that has to be huge. No, you can't. You cannot see the lunar lander with your telescope.
So this would have to be like 500 times the size of that thing to be spotted with the telescope. So yeah, just really cool stuff.
Elon Musk. So that's it. How come there's no context really? Is the moon occupied? This was recorded on a high magnification. That's it. Okay.
This is Reddit. You're not going to get context or anything worthwhile. Just cool videos.
And then people
a bunch of idiots making jokes in the comments.
That's my tent.
See. Yeah, this would have to be massive if the craft is real. This guy estimates it'd be between 30 or 50 kilometers in size. What's that in freedom units? Kilometers. I don't know what a kilometer is.
So we did say that Biden has
dropped out. We talked about it before we recorded. I don't think we talked about it on the show, but yeah, politics, presidential race is getting even crazier. But I sent this to you like last Monday, and now this is irrelevant, but it's still funny because this is supposedly lucid Biden.
Exactly. Lucid Biden being interviewed after the debate. And he's done this every time they interviewed him last week. He messed up. So this is one of them.
And be officially nominated. What happens if you have another episode like we saw during the debate?
What happens if another?
Yeah, what happens if you have another?
What happened?
Performance on that level.
I don't plan on having another performance on that level.
I'm not having that. Okay, all right.
I mean, kick him while he's down. He's out now.
I know he's done. Yeah.
It was interesting that he said the only thing keeping him out of the race would be a medical emergency. Within hours, he had to cancel his. I think he was in Las Vegas going to give a speech, and he had to cancel because he got COVID. And then here we are. We wake up Sunday morning to see that Biden has officially dropped out of the race. He sent a tweet out. Hasn't given a state of the. He hasn't addressed the nation yet on camera.
Right.
He also did tweet that he endorsed Kamala. And I don't think the Democrats really have a game plan. I think they're going to stick Kamala out there pretty much to lose on purpose. Everyone knows how unpopular she is.
Yeah, she couldn't get even 1% of the Democratic vote.
Yeah. I mean, she was like in last place in California where she was running, right?
Yeah, and I think the thing is they have to go with her, then they'll be called hypocrites and racists.
Right. And just get ready for that, people. If you go against Kamala, you will be called a sexist and a bigot for the next 4 years. A sexist and a racist and a bigot.
Yeah.
So
all right. So we are already at 2 hours. So we have to cover Trump and the assassination. So I'm going to skip on some things.
Okay.
Maybe we'll do them next week, like the Adidas thing. And then, all right, let's just go to. All right, maybe we can start here. So they've already like put some animation to like the shot and how
they 3D mapped his head.
Yeah.
and replayed the shot, as you can see, he would have been killed.
Oh yeah, he definitely he should not be here. He really shouldn't.
And he
And
just happened to turn his head at the right second.
it's so crazy.
So I know there's
Look what happened.
boom, yeah. Look, just because he cranked his head at the last second. Lucked out. Very bizarre. Again, rest in peace, Corey, the firefighter. Died
Rest in peace, Corey.
protecting his family like a true man, true hero. Of course, a lot of people are saying that this whole thing was faked or staged. I don't know how you can fake a gunshot going by his head.
You cannot.
People are saying
the
guy was supposed to miss on purpose, but you don't miss by millimeters like that. He clearly got lucky. But it does seem like this was allowed to happen.
Yeah, exactly. Allowed to happen. As we'll see from this animation here, it was the closest building there, an open roof. Why didn't they do anything about it? They had him in his sights, and only when he fired is when they killed him. Like to shut up the patsy.
There's been a lot of people questioning the Secret Service, as they should. The head of the Secret Service came out and said the only reason they didn't have their own agents on that rooftop is because it was too sloped and therefore too dangerous.
And then they come out and then say something about Iran, and that they said that they beefed up the security because of the threat. And Trump was like, no one told me anything about that. So you can see the machine trying to cover up already and trying to blame Iran for what happened.
It's just nuts. I mean, the powers that be are really pushing for us to go into Iran now. I mean, why not just put all the other countries on a bingo card in the Middle East, and let's see how many we can invade.
And who's left? That's all who's left. They got everyone else.
I can think of one more country that starts with an I that could be invaded there because they're doing some.
No, but I mean, like all the other countries that we did on behalf of that country,
right?
With an I, yeah, they're the only ones left.
Right. But I mean, the whole thing is just completely bizarre. As everyone's seen at this point, people in the crowd are pointing up to this kid crawling up on the rooftop. Yeah. The Secret Service and the cops knew about this kid minutes before he even fired a shot. Exactly. And they did nothing. They did absolutely nothing.
And you'll see that there are more shots fired, and Trump is so lucky. It wasn't just that one that grazed his ear. There were the other ones too while he was down. And here, this is a great video that goes through it.
It's the 13th of July in Butler, Pennsylvania. Former U.S. President Donald Trump speaks at a rally. It's only days until he plans to accept the official Republican nomination. He's just minutes into his speech when shots are fired.
Take a look at what happened.
Trump got hit, but survived. Someone tried to assassinate him in broad daylight. Here is how it unfolded. By the time this video is published, new details might have emerged. It's a hot, sweltering early evening as tens of thousands gather here to see Trump. Pennsylvania is one of 6 vital swing states that will help secure the win in the next presidential election. Butler skews heavily Republican, and it is a blue-collar town.
This is a big crowd. This is a big, beautiful crowd.
He is surrounded by supporters. Most are sitting or standing in front of the stage. Some sit on the bleachers, center, left, and right. Trump's support staff and security, including Secret Service agents, are right at the stage. Behind him are 3 large buildings. On the roof of the building on the far left and on the far right are Secret Service snipers. They are constantly scanning the surroundings, looking for threats. They can be seen in this video filmed by a crowd member.
Hello, Butler, and hello to Pennsylvania. I'm thrilled to be back.
Trump begins with his speech. Things seem normal. He turns to the right and points at a chart showing statistics on border crossings. At the same time, several people in the crowd notice a man with a gun on the roof of a building close by. It's too late.
Take a look at what happened.
All of a sudden, bullets start flying. One even gets captured on camera. Another building, about 400 feet or 120 meters north of the stage. The shots are coming from here, on the roof. The gunman is 20-year-old Thomas Matthew Crooks. He is armed with an AR-15 semi-automatic rifle. The gun was legally purchased by his father. First, he apparently fires a round of 3 shots.
Take a look what happened.
Trump reaches up with his hand. The first bullet pierces the upper part of his right ear. He will later say that turning over to the right at that exact moment prevented the bullet from hitting him right in the head. He ducks down behind the podium, and within 3 to 4 seconds after the first shot, Secret Service agents swarm the former president and shield him with their bodies. Crooks opens fire again, immediately, with 5 more shots. Right before the first shot by Crooks, one of the snipers on the left roof behind Trump seems to detect the gunman and prepares to return fire.
Take a look at what happened.
Some outlets report that these snipers killed Crooks, while the Secret Service confirmed its personnel neutralized the shooter. We could not corroborate that it was in fact these specific agents. The gunman also hit spectators on the bleachers. 1 man died, 50-year-old Corey Comprador. 2 others were critically injured. With Trump's microphone still on, we can hear the tense exchanges among the agents.
Move his hair. Hold. When you're ready. On you. Ready. Move. Move. Go.
About 42 seconds after Crooks opened fire, they confirm the shooter is down.
Are we good? Shooter's down. Are we good to move? We're clear. Let's move.
They prepare to escort him to an armored vehicle.
Come on.
Let me get my shoes. Let me get my shoes.
I got you, sir.
Let me get my shoes.
Hold on. Your head is bloody.
So we gotta move to the bus. Let me get my shoes.
Okay. Watch out.
Wait.
In about 75 seconds after ducking to the ground, Trump raises his fist. He is mouthing the words, "Fight, fight, fight." The resulting photos immediately travel around the entire world. The crowd starts to chant for the former president as he leaves the stage, bleeding. Trump is then rushed to a hospital. Later that night, he is flown to New Jersey. He appears to be well. There are a lot of questions we don't have an answer to right now. Why were the forces unable to prevent the attack? Analysis on X suggests that at least the snipers on the roof behind Trump were likely scouting for dangers further away, with this rooftop possibly falling into the responsibility of other law enforcement agents. We were unable to corroborate that. Why couldn't armed men climb up on this building? What was Crooks' motive? The gunman had no criminal history in Pennsylvania's public court records. The New York Times found a voter registration record for Crooks. It shows that he was registered as a Republican. They also found that he donated $15 to a liberal voter turnout group through a Democratic donation platform in 2021. He was a kitchen worker and had a membership at a local shooting club. The FBI found suspicious devices in both his car and home. They are being evaluated by the agency at the time of this recording. The investigation is ongoing, and new information is being published by the minute. President Biden and various leaders around the world condemned the attack and political violence at large. The picture of Trump, bloodied but defiant, with a raised fist in front of the American flag, will surely become a powerful symbol in his re-election campaign.
Oh, yeah, crazy, huh?
Very crazy. There's obviously been a little bit more coming out since then. This is a really good summary of everything that we knew. But the weirdest part is with the shooter's cell phone, they found links to accounts overseas.
Oh yes, here we can go. Is it this? What? Oh, is it this one? Rumors circulating that Trump shooter Thomas Matthew Crooks was acting on behalf of the Israeli government after 3 encrypted overseas accounts were just discovered by the FBI on his computer. So there's that.
Yeah. But it was weird. The FBI apparently couldn't get into his phone, but had determined that he was a lone gunman.
Yeah.
So that's controversial. As we know, Lee Harvey Oswald also called lone shooter, and more evidence seems to support that was not the case at all.
Yeah, I mean, there's lots of theories. Like so, Health Ranger, they did an audio forensics analysis, and they show possibly 3 shooters. based on the audio analysis. So the first 3 are crooks, and then there's from the building, and then but these could probably be the Secret Service agents.
That's kind of what I was thinking too, looking at this. Yeah,
these ones. But then there's the building one is what's different, and that's why he had this explanation here, or this theory.
There is now a very credible explanation emerging that says U.S. Secret Service agents, on orders from Kimberly Cheadle and Alejandra Mayorkas, placed a Secret Service team inside the building where the shooter was crawling on the roof, and that the actual shots targeting Trump may have been taken by the U.S. Secret Service from inside the building. This would be consistent with the audio forensics of the shooting recordings, since the distance would be nearly identical to the rooftop shooter. This also explains why counter-sniper teams held their fire until after the shooter killed Trump. Their job was to eliminate the patsy. Note that U.S. Secret Service had eyes on this young man for at least 30 minutes, watching him with an actual rangefinder, scoping the range of the shot, then with a backpack, then scaling the ladder and going onto the roof. They watched him and reported on his progress. They did nothing to stop him. They did everything but load his rifle and pull the trigger. We need an immediate criminal investigation into Kimberly Cheadle and a hard look at all U.S. Secret Service can you scroll down? Snipers deployed that day. This stinks to high heaven. Note that in the assassination of JFK, they also had a patsy, while the real shot was taken by a CIA-run sharpshooter. Cheadle's bizarre sloped roof excuse doesn't pass the smell test. She's covering up something.
Yeah, and then of course, you get this. Mayorkas is blocking Secret Service director from testifying.
Yeah, good.
Congress. I mean, why? Because they didn't get the story straight.
I don't know. I mean, this is how conspiracies are born. It's because, once again, the public are treated like children, and they're not allowed to know the truth, what really happened.
Yeah. According to House Speaker Mike Johnson, DHS Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas is attempting to block Cheadle from testifying. Johnson called on Cheadle to resign during an interview with Fox News Wednesday morning. She said she's not going to because they interviewed her. She's like, and they asked her, "Are you going to resign?" Nope, I'm staying on. Even though she said the buck stops at her.
Mm-hmm.
Something else that came up. Follow the money.
This was bizarre too. The Austin private wealth company that reportedly shorted 12 million shares of DJT with a filing date of July 12th made a huge bet that Trump's business values would plummet. Guess who this company donates to? Here are just a few from their website: the ACLU, ADL Austin, Shalom Austin, Jewish Community Center, Camp Young Judea, Congregation Beth Israel, Austin Jewish Academy, Hadassah. So,
and people would say, well, Trump is such a big Zionist and he gives Israel whatever they want. Why would they be behind this? Behind the attempted assassination. And many people say it's because he wants to stop the Ukraine war. And if Russia is not busy fighting Ukraine and they want to go after Iran, then Russia has the chance to help Iran or intervene into that. And also because Trump is a peace guy. Him and even Vance, yes, they talk hard on Iran. Yes, they are huge Zionists, but they want peace and they will push for peace. They'll push Bibi for peace. And let's not forget, Trump is in a fight with Bibi. He doesn't like the guy anymore. Bibi was one of the first ones to congratulate Biden after 2020, and Trump hated that. Until this day, they haven't made up. And Bibi canceled his trip over here.
Guy's a piece of shit anyway.
Complete piece of shit. So there are that's why they want them out. They want someone who's controllable. Trump is not controllable. Right. So
as we just proved in that video, I mean, people hate Donald Trump, whatever, his politics, whatever, but the guy knows how to market himself. I mean, good God, he got shot in the ear, got up and refused. His Secret Service is trying to pull him off stage. He goes, wait, hold on. He's fist pumping, gets the crowd going. I mean, that picture of him, blood on his face, fist in the air, the American flag behind him. You couldn't make a more American photo than that.
No, it was amazing. Completely amazing. And it calmed the crowd. So the crowd didn't, do a stampede and go crazy. They stayed with him, especially when he said fight, and it calmed them down. And of course, coming to our topic, UFO spheres spotted during President Trump's assassination attempt.
Now, if there was one time for one of these spheres in the air to be a drone, this would be it.
That's true.
But they do tend to show up at pretty weird moments, huh?
Yes, they do, and it's whizzing by. But yeah, it could definitely. I mean, of course they're going to have drones up there.
Yeah.
I
hope
there's
it's
that. Well, there's that one video. Did someone share? There's actually a video of it, and they slowed it down.
The video about this whole thing that I'm laughing at.
Oh, here it is.
Go for it.
There it is.
Oh, whoop. Yeah. Pretty fast for a drone.
Could be a bug or a bird, but
did you see the video of the Secret Service woman trying to holster her pistol?
Yeah, and she couldn't.
Yeah, that was sad. That was really sad.
And of course, the director of Secret Service, that's all she's mad about, that people are making fun of her.
Yeah.
Of course. I mean, I think that's the excuse why they have DEI, is to have that excuse to say, how dare you?
Right.
How dare you? What do you mean? You didn't do your job.
Well, so something that is completely unrelated to this, the tech industry is going through some little bit harder times right now. Microsoft just laid off a ton of people, including their, I think it's the DEI team. I can't remember if that's the official title. And the leader, the guy who got laid off, wrote this really nasty email saying Microsoft no longer thinks DEI is business, critical. And everyone's kind of like, it never was business critical.
Exactly. I'm so glad that didn't last this long. And they know Trump is coming back in. So,
well, I think that just means these companies will double down because they don't want to be, even though they might privately associate themselves with Trump, they don't want to publicly associate themselves with Trump.
Yeah, but I mean, but still, it's bad business. DEI, they're losing money because of
it.
Oh
yeah, no, none of it doesn't bring any money into the company, of course.
Right. And this is just Trump derangement syndrome. So people are saying that the whole thing was a fault. That basically Trump
organized
Trump
this.
and his team. Yeah, just so for his reelection.
Yeah.
So these are people saying that.
False flag. False flag. Yeah, false flag. Somebody died and 2 people injured. What do you think about that? False flag. False flag.
I thought it was magnificently staged. It was professionally done. It almost looked real.
Wait. Staged by who?
Oh, by Mr. Trump, of course.
I think this whole thing is staged.
You think it was staged?
Yeah.
It depends on everybody's view. Yeah.
View of the assassination attempt? What do you think? Does it kind of depend on where you're standing, whether or not you agree with the assassination attempt or disagree with it?
I just don't see that being the truth, but that's I'd rather just not make any comment.
Really quick, what are you talking about the truth? What do you mean? Oh, you just don't believe it was an assassination attempt?
No.
Please don't. No. We're so anti-Trump. I don't even want to.
Was it a bad thing though?
I mean,
was it a bad thing? Would you condemn it?
Oh, that he got shot at? Of course.
Yeah, right.
Of course, you don't do that.
That's all I'm asking.
Yeah, that's really bad. Yeah, exactly. You don't do that. Was it staged? Probably.
Okay, so you think Trump maybe staged a fake assassination for support? Okay. And that resulted in somebody dying and other people.
These people act like Trump is in charge of like the government or the
they've been completely brainwashed over the last decade at this point, talking about how Trump's the Antichrist, he's a child rapist, he's a thief, criminal, all this stuff that's going to end up being swept under the rug because I mean, I don't even know, probably I know a lot of it.
False flags are done by the state hates Donald Trump,
right?
I mean,
but I mean, I'm just saying they can't see Donald Trump as a person. They see him as the embodiment of evil because that's what they've been programmed to believe after all these years.
Yeah, because of all the messaging.
It's been brainwashing on a mass scale for a long time. I mean, even all these same people are the same ones going like, "Oh, the media is being so critical of Biden. It's not fair. Why don't they talk about Trump? They never talk bad about Trump." I'm like, I see that comment on Reddit all the time. I go, where the fuck have you people been? Nothing. The media is being nice to Trump, and now they're just being mean to Biden. Where have you been?
I mean, people have been so brainwashed by the media. Like I have a family member that said that they wish the bullet didn't miss. I mean, I was like, wow. Yeah. I mean, I hate Biden so much. I would never wish that on him ever. Right. I would be so sad. I'm even saddened seeing him go through what he's going through now. Like it really saddens me. I feel sorry for the guy.
that's the thing, is what it comes down to is like people have been saying stuff like, yeah, Biden's old, but he should be spending time with his family,
Right.
in his twilight years. They're
Exactly.
not saying, oh, he should get shot in the head.
Right.
But it
Yeah.
doesn't go the same way with many Democrat people who lean Democrat.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
go, oh, like the recent big scandal is one of the guys from Tenacious D wished for his birthday present
That's
that the
right.
shooter hadn't missed or something.
Yeah. Yeah.
And everyone's going like, oh, well, everyone's thinking it. It's just like, no, man, just evil, sick people are thinking that.
Right. Right.
I don't think you'd be hard. There's people on the right who wish death upon people like Biden and Kamala, but I think it's far outnumbered by people on the left who wish death on Trump.
Yeah, I think it's because of the messaging. Because subliminally, they always implant things. They always talk about Hitler, and then they and Hitler is all for in our society and civilization. He's like the epitome of evil. He's in all the movies that he's evil, and that they even have like, oh, if I could go back and use a time machine, I'll go back and kill Hitler. So it's justified. So when you compare Trump to Hitler, you'll have people who are given a justification for doing something physically to him.
Right.
And these people, here it is. They can't believe it, and they're just saying it's a false flag.
People being critically injured.
I haven't seen the news today. I'm not here for the news. I haven't seen anything. I'm on vacation.
So you just thought it was fake?
Of course.
One person died in the crowd, 2 critically injured. What happened there?
Small price. It wouldn't matter to Trump. Do you think he cares if people die for him to be elected? That doesn't mean anything to Trump.
Now, staged from whose side? Do you think Donald Trump staged it for attention?
Could be, or it could be the other side trying to make a scene or something. But I don't. The fact that they only got his ear and he would like stood up and said America. I don't. Come on.
Right.
It doesn't feel normal.
What is our evidence for suggesting that it was a staged, fake assassination attempt?
I think that he walked away alive with perhaps a scratch on his ear.
Yeah, it grazed his ear.
Yeah. Of course, behind the scenes, that was all fabricated. So no.
All right, enough of that. We have to watch the whole thing. But here's another example.
Everyone was talking about QAnon a couple of years ago. Now it's Blue Anon.
Yes. Yeah. It's crazy how that happens, huh?
Pendulum swinging, baby. I've been saying it.
And here's this, and it's very embarrassing, but it's I know our show is part of the UFO community, and we have to show this. But this is Matt Ford, the Good People show.
Mm-hmm.
He did this, and right here, he's just showing it, and it's pretty hectic.
There is no difference. Fanatics breed fanaticism. Words build bridges into unexplored regions. What luck for rulers that men do not think. The victor will never be asked if he told the truth. It is not truth that matters, but victory. If you tell a big enough lie and tell it frequently enough, it will be believed. A fanatic that unleashed fanaticism upon our country. It's what he did. And it nearly took us down. And he can do it again.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable.
And that's another thing I'm seeing a lot of sentiment about is if Trump gets elected, this is the last election we'll have, implying that Trump will become supreme ruler, or that if he gets elected, gays and trans are all going into camps. All this fear mongering, with just absolute no proof behind it. Yeah, and then now the big talking point is Project 2025, and they're pushing that, and they claim it's not a conspiracy theory and it's truth, and this is what Trump was going to do when he gets into power, And
even though he's denounced it many times,
anyone who looks into Project 2025 knows it's a wish list by a far right think tank with no actual political power. Yes, some of the people involved there are involved with Trump's political team, but you have to understand high level politics is a small party.
Yeah.
No matter what, there's a small group of people at the top who have their fingers in everything.
And so Trump is not far right.
No, he's not.
He's an ex-liberal.
Yeah, I was going to say the guy was a Democrat and disparaged Republicans up until he got elected.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I guess let's bring in some comedy into this. Breaking new technology revealed to protect your house against the federal government. It is a sloped.
Yeah,
it's a slope.
as we've seen, anything more than a 3-degree slope, the government cannot set foot on it.
And
It's
I
too
guess
dangerous.
I guess we can close out. There's a new music video that came out. He goes, in light of this UFO news at the Trump rally, I give you Take Your Planet. I've only watched this today. We're not going to watch the whole thing, but it's really funny. Never heard of this guy. He raps pretty good.
They came from two sides of the tracks to start off the facts. Polly had the 8-track deck loaded with Fleetwood Mac, enough of the flashbacks back to the phenomenon, the extraordinary birth of a black swan. It was a cold November night, his mama remembered at the refinery site. Her and dad had a lot of passion. Naturally, something happened well in the Chevelle fiction depicted that this creature was conceived. Born, raised in hell, ass first until they heard the story they tell. Unique boy with special brain waves, 2 different worlds, 2 different ways, born to invade, made to raid, superior DNA. I mean, my mama was pregnant with me in the womb, in the same Chevelle, in a nutshell. She said, I'm going to hell if I'm lying. The UFO was flying after me. Oh my God, I thought I was dying. Chasing the fucking car for 54, foot to the floor, hauling ass in a panic. No cell phone, no communication, in the frantic adrenaline pumping her and the aliens racing. She ended up escaping the dish. Maybe they were checking the specimen, the alien baby. That would be me, Rocky. L no spit sloppy. Can't stop me, Mr. Miyagi. Run up in your dojo to Kimbe Mutombo, head above the rest. Don't sleep, destroy beast to 3, get dirty to 6:30 on the 3rd encounter. In a fight with my kid brother after ghost riding this fucking bike above his grandmother's trailer was a space invader. Hovered with pulsating lights, define laws of physics, cataclysmic. If Wheezy gets a Martian, I'm from a different galaxy entirely. This is an invasion. Obey or face annihilation. Take your planet. Take your planet. I'm from the future. This is the present, presented from the future. The past is simulated in between you two, and the septus is where I'm injecting this punch to the dome. Lyrical deviant on the microphone. ET phone home, who's calling? Rocky, no stopping me when I'm finished with Earth. Feed me to another planet. Damn it, I ain't playing. I'm getting bored. These humans can't fathom the experience. Ignorance can't confirm my existence. I'm from up above, the underbelly of the beast. Moon and undertones is what I started to call this fucking album. That's too deep, too much. These stupid motherfuckers can't keep up, keep up, keep up. My real family came to see me from where telescopes can't reach. Historically, metaphorically, categorically claiming superiority. And I ain't even put on my fucking ray gun. Oh, hell no! Take your planet. Take your planet.
Well, there it is.
Very cool. It's glad to see so many people are so creative in the world today. I love it.
I know, right? And especially that's a UFO, and that's become more mainstream than ever and more accepted.
Yes, sir. It's wonderful to see.
I mean, it is crazy times. I mean, this election is going to be something else, and who knows? It might be another attempt on his life. He might get poisoned. I mean, they're not gonna just stop. Let's just say that.
Yeah, man. This is a real interesting times we're in.
Yeah, it is. What are we talking about? We're talking about 4 months. 4 months is the election, right?
Yeah, November.
That is nothing.
Yeah, I mean, that's why it's so bizarre. I mean, the timing, I can't remember if we discussed this earlier, but the timing of Biden's announcement comes right after the RNC convention, the Republican convention, and it seems like it was an attempt to get people to stop focusing on the Republicans so much and get it back to the Democrats. But I mean, it seems like a really late time to announce you're not seeking re-election, and especially with no one really being prepped in the wings to come forth and take that spot. I know names are being thrown around: Whitmer, Newsom, Kamala, of course, but no one has been like pushed forward. Like, Because oftentimes you'll see both Democrats and Republicans saying, this is going to be our 2028 forerunner. And Democrats really never came out with that kind of person that they could have just pushed up for 4 years.
Yeah.
Like
I mean, the good thing is the Republican Party has completely changed. If you notice at the RNC, none of the rhinos were there. None of them. So like George Bush, he wasn't there. What's the other guy that talked? And he was a Speaker of the House before. He wasn't there. Obviously Romney wasn't there. So it is a completely different party. And I'm not saying that Trump is not the swamp, because he does surround himself with swampy people.
Oh yeah.
But he's not as deep state as like what Biden is. So
right.
For disclosure, and that's what we're focused on. A Biden or Democrat is not going to be good for disclosure like Trump is.
Well, that's it from us here at the Uncovering Anomalies podcast. That is, I have a need to know Adam, and he's going to tell us where you can find us all on social media.
Yes, come find us on X at UAP the podcast. You hit us up there, follow us. I'm at Breakaway Civil, and Topher is at Topher et al. We are only on X for now, but we're on all video platforms. You can find us on the YouTube, Rumble, BitChute, and Odyssey. And then we're on all the podcast platforms as well. So yeah, we'd love to hear from you. Support us. We always have a support link at the end of every episode. So make sure to click on that and buy us a cup of coffee or something.
Of course, we'd always love to hear from our listeners, so be sure to drop us a line anytime you can. Let us know how we're doing. Let us know if you want us to cover any topics you might be interested in. And Topher's Media Corner, really quick. I watched Dark City again last night. Fantastic movie.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, Dark City's great. It's a little aged, especially when it comes to the end.
Yeah.
But that's okay. The concept is still really cool. And it has to do with aliens. Yeah,
it is really cool. I love the ending. Love it. Yeah, it's a cool movie.
Yeah. It's cool, really cool concepts. I love it. You want to talk about getting the power back? Great movie, great feel good movie to watch.
Awesome.
All right, we want to thank you all so much for listening. This has been episode 81, and we will see you all next week, partners.
See you all next week, partners.